Hi, Anne. This was unplanned. I'm actually folding my clothes. Well, not my clothes. I'm folding laundry, but it's all my man's laundry. And I figured I would just come and talk about this because you know that boycott is supposed to start today. But I'm with you. We should boycott the NAACP, but not even because of Rachel. Simply because, do they even represent us anymore? Doesn't colored mean something different now? Do you know what I mean? Does it even mean? Does it even have anything to do with Black people anymore? But I want to discuss an interview that, hi, Charze. I want to discuss an interview that Derek did. You know, their CEO, Derek Johnson. I want to discuss his little interview and why I think this boycott is BS. And the fact that I think the boycott is BS directly ties into my issue with the NAACP, period. I really think it's just an arm of the government. In my opinion, it's an arm of the government. And I'll tell you why. Because they want to, I don't know, do you guys know why they want to boycott Facebook? They want to boycott Facebook because they claim that, and like I said, I'm going to be folding clothes and talking to you guys. They want to boycott Facebook because they claim that Facebook was trying to sway or allowed the Russians to sway the Black vote away from Hillary Clinton. So here we have Derek Johnson. The interview I watched with him was on Democracy Now! So here we have Derek Johnson, CEO of the NAACP, talking about how they want to boycott Facebook for a week. Obviously, they're expecting Black people to do this with them because Facebook allowed the Russians to come in and sway the Black vote away from Hillary Clinton. Now, just to show the hypocrisy of these people at the NAACP and why you can't believe anything that they have to say, number one, weren't we just accusing Facebook of being bigoted against conservatives? But that same agency that's supposedly bigoted against conservatives actually was basically aiding and abetting or standing passively by while the Russians were swinging the vote in the conservative favor. Hi, Frantonio. Hi, B1 for life. So I'm not really buying that. Like, I'm not really buying that, y'all. I think at the end of the day, the government just wants to have a handle on Facebook. And when it didn't really work to complain about them banning the conservatives, now they're putting another spin on it because at the end of the day, they're sick of people being on Facebook Live, going live with murders, going live with police brutality. They're sick. Like Facebook, you could really, like, honestly, y'all, I'm going to tell you guys right now, what would be a really clutch and smart move if people had sense, and I don't even advocate social media, but if you want to turn social media around on them, start going live while you press on people doing stop and frisks. Start going live while you interfere with unjust police functions. Start going live while you have communications about, you know, the issues that we have with government. Start going Facebook Live with stuff like that. And really that's why they don't like Facebook is really Facebook Live. That's really what has started the attack on Facebook, because they cannot control immediately what people show on Facebook Live, and people are showing all kinds of crap. But I'm not really buying. Hi, DJ Moss. Hi, Derek. Yeah, I'm not with it. Hi, Connor. Well, Connor, if they're biased against conservatives, then why is the NAACP wanting us to boycott them for a week? Because they're also biased against liberals, apparently, because they stood idly by and or helped the Russians screw up the election for, I am missing my tissue, y'all. You guys know I have allergies. Screw up the election for Hillary Clinton. Now, just to talk about what hypocrites the NAACP are, because they're hypocritical. In the same interview where they were whining and complaining about how Facebook basically helped to screw up Hillary Clinton's campaign, they were patting themselves and Kamala Harris. And who else was it with them? Hold on. Let me look. It was them. It was Kamala Harris. It was Cory Booker. Oh, my two, like they irritate me, the two of them. And their little coalition with Tim Scott, right? And how they got the anti-lynching law passed. So quick facts. NAACP was started because Black people were being lynched. So colored was really advocacy for Black people being lynched. So with all the stuff Black people have going on now today, the thing that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker did, you know, this useless, stupid thing, was to finally get the law passed that says that's an anti-lynching law in our favor. Okay? So the NAACP dude is sitting up here talking about boycotting Facebook. He gives big ups to Cory and Kamala, two of the biggest idiots with a black face in politics. And then has the nerve to say, and we also petitioned to have, and won, to have basically Bill Clinton's, have some of those sentences that were created through his policies, those 3 strike sentences and things, turned over at the federal level. So for federal prisoners, they are now going to have their sentences shortened from those life sentences. How are you in one breath gonna want Black people to boycott Facebook for thwarting Hillary's campaign when that woman is married to the man that is responsible for millions of Black people being in prison, like right here and right now? Help me understand how that makes any type of sense, y'all. I mean, do you follow what I'm saying here? That's why I think they're full of crap, and they're just an arm of the political machine, honestly. Because if Bill Clinton's laws were so bad, those racist laws, and let's not forget that they support Planned Parenthood, which is built on killing off undesirable people, undesirable being Black people. How is it that they are asking us to boycott Facebook on behalf of some stuff that went wrong with Hillary's campaign when no Black person should have wanted Hillary in power anyway? And at the same time are going to say, oh, but the good thing is the law that her husband created that got all those Black people locked up, we're going to overturn those sentences. Do you follow why the boycott makes no sense? If we are also having to pat our backs about a law that her husband created to target Black people, why do we care if her campaign got thwarted? Even if it were true, could her campaign getting thwarted not be the best thing to ever happen to the world? Do we really want another Clinton in office? I mean, they are not our friends. They are not. Everybody got caught up in calling them honorary Black people, but they're honorary nothing. They're scum. And that's why I say the NAACP doesn't have an honest bone in their collective body. Like, not even in the least. Connor, yeah, lynching is murder. You're going to jail anyway. Yeah, I mean, you know, these people are up there doing things that don't even matter. They don't even matter. First of all, nobody is really getting lynched like that anymore, first and foremost. Second of all, as Connor said, the result of lynching is murder. Therefore, you would go to jail for murder because you killed somebody. So it's a pointless law and it's a waste of time. This is why I do not like Kamala Harris and Cory Booker. Like, they are so fake. They're fake, and the stuff they do has no impact on anything. I mean, our tax dollars went for this crap. Our tax dollars went for these meaningless conversations. And then, and then, I'm sorry, y'all. I told you guys I'm folding clothes. For those of you guys that are just coming in, I'm folding clothes. So I don't know. I was not feeling him. He's 5 shades of stupid to me, because I'm just like, who does the NAACP represent anymore? Who do they represent? They don't represent anybody. They have nothing useful to say. They have no useful dialogue to contribute to anything. And no, first of all, if you boycott Facebook just because social media is disgusting, period. But don't do it until after the NAACP boycott, because I would hate for them to think that any Black people care what they think. I'm going to need them to get on some real Black causes and stop being an arm of the political machine with this rhetoric. I mean, the amount of cognitive dissonance that has to go on for you to, on one hand, want to boycott Facebook over Hillary Clinton not getting elected, and then be happy that Hillary Clinton's husband's policies are the result of his policies that imprisoned tons of Black people get overturned, for him to sit in one interview. Sorry, ooh, my hair is like tickling my back. For him to sit in one interview and out of his mouth speak on both of those topics as if that thinking even aligns. Y'all, I don't know. I'm very, very confused. I feel like they think we're really stupid. I think so. Yeah. Okay. So she thinks all Black people look alike, but then the NAACP is on there talking about boycott Facebook in her defense. I wish I would. I wish I would boycott something in the defense of anybody with the last name Clinton. Yeah, I'm folding clothes. I am. I wasn't going to go live today because I'm only folding my man's stuff, though. These are like all his towels because, you know, he's a big dude, so he needs like extra big stuff. So these are like all his towels, all his T-shirts, all his stuff, because he's going out of town for 4 days, and then returning on the 5th day. And so while he's out of town, he was like, are you going to do like a whole bunch of lives and a whole bunch of videos? And I was like, yes, because he has me on a very strict schedule. And so I'm not a very schedule-oriented person, but he is like very anal. So he has me on a strict schedule. So whilst I get a break from my schedule, y'all are going to see me a lot. So yay. Y'all ready for that? I mean, for those of you who aren't into the holiday season, I don't celebrate Christmas, so I do not. Thank you, Paul. National Association for the Advancement of Caucasian People. I'm so glad you said that, because I was like, what acronym can I think of? Like, you know, what can I replace the NAACP acronym for? Because they are not doing us any favors, okay? The NAACP is not doing crap for us. Now, that ship sailed a long time ago. Like, in no way, shape, or form were they helping us at all. So I appreciate that. Thank you so much. In other news, so, okay, the talk of the NAACP is short. The anti-lynching law, I'm going to need Kamala Harris and Cory Booker to shut up. Unless they're trying to run for presidency and vice presidency. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if those two ran on a ticket together. Because we know that Cory B, a.k.a. Spartacus, with his cheesy butt, we know he wants to be president. So I wouldn't be surprised if the two of them got elected. I mean, you know, ran on a ticket together. And I can't lie. Anybody who's not white, I would love to have in office. So I wouldn't necessarily say don't vote for them if they ran. I still don't like them, though. I still don't like them. And you know what else I don't like? Actually, before I get on my next subject, which is pretty disturbing, you know what else I don't like? I don't like that the NAACP is making it like, even if somebody did manipulate the Black vote, why does it matter? We don't have one person, one vote in America. Like, my vote for presidency does not count in America. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't count because we have an electoral college, and the electoral college does not have to vote with the popular vote. They can vote any way that they like. So I just think it's stupid for anybody to get outraged at anything that affects a presidential election, because y'all, we have no vote in that. We're all wasting our time. I wish we would switch over to one person, one vote. At least it would make more sense. But for us to get upset about the swaying of some votes that don't even count, when the Electoral College can vote any way they darn well please, and we've seen them do this before. We have seen the Electoral College, this has happened, vote for somebody different than the popular vote dictated. Because it's legal for them to do it, and they definitely do. So I'm going to need these conversations about voting for presidency to stop being held as if we have a one person, one vote policy. Not that I don't approve of a one person, one vote policy. Look at how neatly I fold. Okay, those are not the neatest ever. But look at this. Oh, isn't my folding glorious? Go ahead, give me credit. This is why a lot of the cleaning around my house I do by myself, because there's a certain way that I like things and nobody does it correctly. And that's super. That is super annoying. So I do it all myself. Oh, dress this down. My man really likes this. You guys can't tell, but it's all beaded. So yes, this is my house dress, and I have a ponytail in my hair. I dress down. I'm doing laundry. Most of my house clothes are not appropriate for YouTube though. So that's why you guys always see me fully dressed. Because whenever I come on YouTube and anything that's not fully dressed, somebody makes accusations. So I just stopped being myself with y'all. I just started being extra careful. Because I would go live if I were just doing random stuff. I'd be like, let me go live and talk to you guys. And then, you know, the YouTube police. So anyway. Oh, with the designs, Frantonio? But why bother? Everybody just messes it up. See, the way I fold is a nice combination between super neat and easy to correct, because when people take stuff out of drawers and out of closets, they just mess it up. And so I have to end up like throughout the week refolding everybody's stuff, rehanging everybody's stuff. Like my closets are color coordinated, y'all. This is not a game. This is real life. I am very, very anal about those kind of things. Let's see. Oh, okay. Hi, Jonas. Righteousness over religion. You changed your profile name? Okay, cool. Oh, I don't own any sweatpants and ugly sweaters, so you won't see that. Because I get dressed for myself. So I'll wear this because this is actually really cute. But I don't wear just ugly things. I mean, who wants to see their self looking crazy? Forget everybody else. I don't want to see myself looking crazy. So, okay. Other conversation that I want to have with you guys. The other conversation I want to have with you guys. So I started to do a video on the Man Love Boy Association. Okay, so no, let me back it up. I saw a little girl pole dancing. Have you guys seen this? Children pole dancing? Yes or no? Tell me, let me know in the comment section. Have you guys seen children pole dancing? Push 1, push 2, say yes, say no, say something. I think there's a delay, so. Hi, Renaissance. No. Oh, okay. Well, this should be an interesting conversation that we're about to have. So I saw a little girl pole dancing. She's 8 years old. Will I show the video? Y'all, I'm going to show the video, but I don't want to show the video. I feel like I want to show the video because we can't really have this conversation until you see it for yourself. I'm also going to show the video of a family that pole dances together. Little tiny girls, a grown woman, all of this. So they're trying to change pole dancing into an art. And I will say pole dancing is an art form. However, I don't know if children should be publicly pole dancing. So I'm going to share my screen with you guys. Let me see. Hold on. Because I'm going to open up my my folder. Oh, hi, Cynthia G. Oh, if you guys do this, I will be able to take my time and fold my clothes if more people are talking. Cynthia and Gab and Renaissance Woman and BMT, if any of you guys are open to talking about this, I'll tell you what I want to talk about. I'm going to show the little girl pole dancing. I want to talk about if that's appropriate for children, and is this a part of a greater agenda to push sexuality for children? Because this got me down this rabbit hole of NAMBLA and oh my gosh, y'all, I spent a great part of my day today being horrified. And you know how misery loves company? I was researching this stuff and I was disgusted and I was horrified. And then I thought, what better to do with my time than share it with all of you? Because there's no reason I should possess this information alone. I should definitely drag other people down this rabbit hole with me. So yeah, I'm going to play the little girl pole dancing. Let me just open up my downloads. I have a ripper that rips video offline. And that has made my life so much easier. So the first little girl is a little black girl. She's mixed. I believe she's mixed. She's not necessarily black. Okay, so yeah, here it is. Okay, I'm about to share my screen with you guys. And we're going to watch it. Ooh. Can I do it? Let me see if I can do this. Can't. Yes, I can. Okay, here we go. One sec. Let me share it. There we go. What? What in the hell? Oh, that's so obnoxious. Can you guys see my screen? Okay, hold on. I think I have to do this all over again. Hold on. Okay, here we go. I'm mad that I have a PowerPoint called Slavery PowerPoint. In what world, y'all? What am I doing on my computer? What am I doing with my life? That I have a PowerPoint called Slavery PowerPoint. No, I have not presented this presentation to you. Hold on. I'm trying to open this. Why is this not opening? Hold on. Ah! What is happening? Is anything opening? Am I very bad at this? Hold on. Hold on. Let's try it again. Bear with me. If I can do it at all. I feel like there's nothing I can do here. Okay, let's try it one more again. Downloads. Yes. I think I might have like one too many programs open. I feel like I have 30,000 programs open and my computer is like not approving of this. What I'm doing. Oh, hell, come on. Okay. All right. Let's try this for the 15th time. Or maybe I need to move it out of the folder for it to open. Oh, no, there it goes. Finally. Oh, goodness sakes. I'm so... So she's 8 years old. I just want to be very clear that she's only 8 years old. She spent a lifetime taking care of me. She slept, I just could not approve. She always had her bed behind the screen. Love was never... All right, I'm going to turn this off really quick. Just the volume. Okay, so the little girl is 8 years old. I just saw her vagina. So here's the thing. Is pole dancing an art form? Sure. I mean, I guess. Do I need to see that much of an 8-year-old's body? I don't know. I'm going to stop this because it just gets worse as she goes on. She's very talented. She's a cute kid. Da 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 da. She's 8. She's 8. She's 8 years old, you guys. Yes, she's got skills, BMT, but it... Oh no, what did I do? Oh, I think I stopped sharing my screen, did I? Oh wait, stop. Okay, you guys, I'm so bad at this. I'm gonna try this again. Oh, okay. So let's see if I can show you the next thing that I have. I think it took qualms with, can you guys hear me? Wait. Can you hear me? Okay, you can. Okay, great. So let me go ahead and see if I can screen share with you guys again. Oh no, that was the wrong thing. All right, I'm going to try to screen share this. All right, so let's see. Let me try to screen share. So I think I need to definitely do it without the sound because I think it thought I was playing a music video. Okay. Can you guys see my screen now? Or can you not see anything? Can you guys see my screen now or can you not see anything? That's what I need to know. Oh, you can't see anything. Okay, let me see what happens. All right, I'm going to turn the volume all the way down. Okay, can you guys not see this? Oh, you can't see it. Hold on. 1 second. I'm going to try to make this happen again. You guys cannot see me and you cannot see my screen either? Oh my gosh, why not? That's what I don't understand. What are you guys fighting over? Why is somebody on their call? Okay, you guys can see me again, right? Dope. Okay, so let's try this again. I'm so sorry about that. What happened? But okay, so here we go. So, joy of all joys, this is in America. Okay, great. Thank you. I think I'm screen sharing, right? Oh, I'm not screen sharing. Hold on. Sorry. Let me try this. I'm going to get this together, y'all. You know I'm not very good at this stuff. Let's see. Great. Perfect. So I can already see it, but you guys are going to be a step behind me. There we go. So this is what the world has come to. So she is a stripper. Like she's an actual stripper in a club. And she's teaching her children how to pole dance too. So get this. The mom does it. The toddler does it. The little boy does it. And the dad does it too. They do it together. So let me see, because there's some interesting things that happen in this clip. But they're going on, and they're talking about how it's okay, how people have accused them of child abuse, how they say they're sexualizing their children, da da da. And so they feel like they're just doing what they need to do. Okay, here's my thing with this kind of stuff. My thing with this behavior is that there's a whole push to say that children can have consent and be sexual. So is pole dancing an art? Sure, I could say that pole dancing is an art. You can do more than shake your butt on a pole. It takes a lot of muscle and strength. I actually know how to pole dance. It's very hard to do. Do I think it's appropriate for children to do it? Y'all, I don't know. I guess if you want your kids to do it in the comfort of your own home. But the reality is, like, should we be watching children on a pole half naked with their legs wide open, where we can see their, vaginas, we can see their naked bodies, basically, in the same way that we would dress an adult woman to be on a pole? And a lot of people in this family makes the comparison. They compare it to gymnastics. And everything. Children being the same holes as poles are never okay. So, okay. So the last thing that I'm going to show you guys is kind of where I feel this is going. And then I'm going to try to see if anybody can join this hangout with me. But y'all know I'm bad at this, so just give me a second. So the last thing that I want to show you is, hold on. The last thing that I want to show you guys is going to be, okay, so there's this man who is a former YouTuber. He's former. And I want to just show you his commentary regarding child sexuality and why I feel this pole dancing thing is just a segue into making certain outlooks on children acceptable. So give me 1 second, because I think this is it. And we will actually listen to this. Yeah, we're going to listen to this because he's on some stuff, y'all. This is like 9 minutes long. But bear with me, because trust me and believe, he's going to see, like, the more he gets to the point where he says that out of the womb, children can consent to sex. They have the choice to consent to sex from the womb. Points I made previously will be as clear. So this is a man that's currently seeking asylum here in this country. The woman who helped him get asylum in the United States is trying to kick him out. Oh, you think that was fine? Oh, well, you missed the first one. So I might have to play the first one of the other little girl pole dancing. I don't know that you'll feel that was fine. Maybe you thought it was fine because those little girls weren't spread eagle like the first girl. The ones that I will make in this video. And also at that time, I went around calling everyone a fascist for those who disagree with me. Yeah, I don't think I should have done that. It seems pretty dickish. So if people want to most accurately represent my position on this issue, cite this on whether or not the relationship involves consent. Most people would make the absolute broad generalization that any kid that is below the age of 12 are not able to consent to sex. But then one day, a 42-year-old adult comes along and says that while he was 10 years old, he had a perfectly consensual sexual relationship with a 30-year-old adult. 10-year-old him was not traumatized afterwards. The relationship was perfectly fine and consensual, and both of them enjoyed the sexual relationship. So do you think that that kind of relationship should not happen? That just because the child was below 18, that relationship that was perfectly harmless should be considered child rape? No, that's absolutely ridiculous. Nobody was harmed. And this is not a fantasy story that I just pulled out of my ass.
stories of children below the age of 12 who have had mutually beneficial relationships, sexual relationships with adults. So if you agree that that kind of relationship should be completely fine and legal, then you should also agree that every relationship between a child and an adult is all right as long as it involves consent. Let's continue. I'm absolutely certain that we should not discriminate against pedophiles. Our society's treatment of pedophiles is inhumane and horrendous. Oh my gosh. A pedophile is simply defined as an individual who has a sexual attraction to children. That's it. It doesn't mean he's going to molest children. It doesn't even mean he's going to act upon his sexual urges. All he has is the non-violent sexual attraction to children. If you have the desire to rape children, then yeah, that's bad. But most pedophiles, like most people, do not want child abuse. Most pedophiles and child abuse. Whether you were biologically born with that sexual orientation or you were influenced by your surroundings, if you just have the desire to have a perfectly consensual sexual relationship with a child, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And pedophiles, like the LGBT community, seem to exist in very significant numbers in society. Why should we immediately discriminate against such a huge group of people, say that they are scum and they should be imprisoned when they have done absolutely nothing wrong? There are people who realize that they have a sexual attraction to children, but since society discriminates against pedophiles so much, these people contemplate suicide. There are even stories in the US where adults apply electroshock therapy to boys as young as 12 who think that they have a sexual attraction to children. Like, what the fuck? I do not want to live in a society where we condone this kind of discrimination and hostility towards a group of people who have done absolutely nothing wrong. This is vile. This is absolutely horrible. If a child and an adult have consensual sex, they both film it, and they both agree that it's fine for the footage to be on the internet, there's absolutely nothing wrong done. Why should it be illegal? In the US, for producing child porn, an adult gets a minimum of 15 years in prison and a maximum of 30. That is fucking insane. Even worse is most countries criminalize simply possessing child pornography. Possessing child pornography, a completely non-violent act, whether you viewed it based on sexual attraction or non-sexual curiosity, in the US, you get a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 15. What the fuck? And even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt and said that, okay, all child sex is rape, and so all child pornography is essentially footage of rape, is it wrong to upload or view footage of child rape? No! Now, people might argue that the reason why footage of child porn or child rape should be banned is because having it on the internet would promote such behavior. However, the fact is, there really is no evidence that there's a link between watching violent footage and an increase in violent crimes. And if there is, please show it to me. It's kind of like the people who say that having the death penalty helps reduce crime, or banning violent movies helps reduce violence. Like, it seems like there would be a logical connection, but the fact is, there's absolutely no evidence to show that there is a connection. Uploading and watching footage of real violence should not be illegal, similar to how you should not be sent to prison if you see footage of a reporter getting beheaded by a Muslim. It doesn't mean you want to conduct violence when you watch footage of real violence. It just means that you might have a curiosity at how horrible human beings can be. Bottom line, producing and uploading footage of child porn should be absolutely fine and legal. If you want to upload and possess footage of child rape, that should be fine too. Punish the guy who actually raped the kid. Many people are willing to reduce the age of consent to whatever subjective opinion they have on how much brain development a child should have before they are capable of consenting to sex, whether that age be 12, 13, or 14. Now, I would argue and ask, why do you think that kids and babies aren't able to consent to sex? Babies consent to sucking their thumb, to sleeping, to choosing the fire truck over the Hello Kitty during play. They are perfectly able to show approval right when they're born. If a baby is curious about a man's genitals and he comes over and plays with it, that is a sexual act. But that is completely fine and harmless. Why should there be a problem with that? So I disagree that babies and kids aren't 12 aren't able to consent to sex. Does that mean that we should just reduce the age of consent to 12 and not eliminate age of consent laws entirely? No! You see, and this is where the pretty nuanced thinking comes in, so brace your brains. There is a clear distinction between a person who is able to consent and the ability to be allowed to engage in consensual acts. A child is not able to consent to sex below the age of 12, but say the impossibility happens and an 11-year-old consents to sex. Is that fine? Absolutely. Furthermore, if an adult has non-consensual sex with a 11-year-old child, eliminating age of consent laws would not let the adult get away because there are already rape laws. So there is absolutely no logical connection that eliminating age of consent laws would increase sexual violence, because there will still be rape laws to protect children from abuse. If you cite anecdotes of children who, at ages 9 or 10, had sex with an adult and then became traumatized their whole life, or predatory behavior where they were manipulated into a sexual act, those are incidents of child abuse and child rape. It is absolutely different from a consensual, harmless relationship between a pedophile and a child. What age of consent laws for sex do is simply restrict mutually beneficial sexual relationships between a child and an adult. Lowering the age of consent laws is not enough. If you lower the age of consent law to 10 and then a 9-year-old comes along and says, I have had sex with an adult and I was perfectly fine with it, do you think that that adult should go to prison? No. It's perfectly harmless and both of them benefited. You think he should go to prison? That is insane. Look, I'm not a pedophile. I don't have...
I'm pissed off. So I'm mad he said he wasn't a pedophile, but it's come out that he's a pedophile. So, like, you couldn't have... He was too passionate. He was too passionate about the cause to not be a pedophile. He's too passionate about the cause to not be a pedophile. Okay, so there's one more thing I want to show you guys, and then I want to open this conversation up a little bit, because I want to just show that there's a pattern here. So you had the little girl, and I'm going to go back to it because somebody didn't think it was so bad when they saw the family dancing together. So I want you to keep in mind what this man is saying, and then tell me that this is not an attempt to sexualize children right here. So to mind you, again, for those of you who just came in, this little girl is 8 years old. Is pole dancing an art? Yes. But now that we know that there are people who think like this man, and there's a whole association here in the United States, and there are associations all over the world promoting pedophilia and children being able to be sexual and consent to sex. Remember, he said that if a baby walks over to you and touches your penis, they are basically telling you they want the dick. Okay? It's not just a baby being curious. No, it's the baby wanting sex from you. So maybe they feel this little girl is trying to seduce them. Right? She's 8 years old. She's 8 years old, y'all. She's an 8-year-old child. Sweet little girl, but she's an 8-year-old child. And the more and more they have her do this, the more sexual her behavior becomes. That was the first time. This is the second time. Less clothes this time, more sexual and erotic in her behavior. No, not sexual and erotic. That's okay, because pole dancing is an art, right? So Connor, you're saying, should they ban ballet? I'm going to tell you something. My girls did ballet, and I had a really hard time making that decision to let them do ballet. I did, for that reason. It's very sexual. They did it at a studio where there are 2 women own the studio. The parents could watch the classes. Only women were allowed. And now that we've moved out of that area, they no longer do ballet. They no longer do it because you're half naked the whole time. And that was the only condition I would be comfortable with it in. You know, I want to show you guys one last thing, and before we open up this discussion, I want to make sure this is it. So this is a NAMBLA presentation. Okay, these are the figureheads here in the United States, but there are others throughout the world. They are not the only organization pushing this. And mind you, the LGBTQ community, they are part of that community. So when we talk about the gay agenda, this is part of the gay agenda. I hope you guys can hear this. Let me know if you cannot.
Since they had to deal with the aggressive and sensitive behaviors, sometimes exerted by the masculine presence in the room, I have since come to realize that there are many vulnerable groups.
Are you guys able to hear it?
We queers rarely get a chance to be heard, and that's what I seen when our addicts put together this very event. We knew that the Advocate and Out magazine would not be interested in the voice of queer America. I'm about to introduce 2 men who need to feel that safety in this room right now. Rich and Tom. Tom Reeves was the founder of NAMBLA. They have a story that needs to be heard.
I'm the queerest of the queer. At the age of 14, I was thrown down 2 flights of stairs by the entire football team in my high school because I was a fag. Tonight, I feel for the first person.
So I want to be clear on what... Oh, sorry. You guys... Okay. I want to be clear on what is happening here. This man that you see, that old man standing there, and the boy who's now of consenting age in the background were lovers while he was a child. This man is giving an open speech about having sex with this boy, and this boy is about to talk about it while he was a child. And as they tell their story, I want you to hone in on a couple things about the story. Number 1, this little boy, when he found him, was in a vulnerable position as a runaway. The man offered to help him, and during his helping him, they bounced from hotel to hotel. They did fun things like had sex on between state lines. They had numerous sexual encounters, and then the boy turned himself in, went to jail, and now they're back. So he's about to tell his story about raping this little boy repeatedly, and then this young man is going to talk about how he was fully consenting to having sex with him. I believe he was 13 or 14 when the sex started. So again, they are at a gay rights rally. They are calling themselves queer. That's what the Q in LGBTQ AI is, queer. And they're about to talk about their sexual relationship as a pedophile and child because it was consensual, and this is okay.
I was thrown down those stairs again. I've been thrown down those stairs over and over and worse. I love the boys. Boys love me. I ask you tonight, please don't leave. Some people already have been. Please hear us. Give us the space we never had. Why are we attacking each other? Why are we attacking some people attacking transgender people in the most difficult situation? Why are we being attacked? I believe that like liberation, hatred is individual, indivisible. It comes from the same place as homophobia, erotophobia, racism, and all those hatreds I've seen. I see that same hatred, that same viciousness in the faces of those who scream at me. Throw me down those stairs now for loving boys. We're here tonight to support lesbians, to support public sex, to support prostitution, to support gay men, to support transgender people, to support transsexuals, drag queens, and S&M, because we believe in choice and freedom and liberation. We ask you, please, hear us out at least. Many of us come here tonight directly from prison, I mean directly. Some of us come here tonight from suicide attempts, from burnings and threats to be killed. Some of us in this room tonight must wear literally a scarlet letter from the state of Washington and other places. We come, there are 10,000 men in prison today for sex with boys, at least 10,000. Of those 10,000, 90% are there for consensual sex with boys over the age of 12. We're talking about youth and men together exploring ourselves, learning about sexuality, learning about consent. Yes, consent's important. Consent's important in politics and religion. It's no different than sex, unless you're afraid of sex, unless sex somehow worries you. Tonight I ask you, please don't prejudge us at our sexuality based on what is said by the media, the government, the police, the psychiatrists, the social workers. Somehow I don't think they describe you very well. Please let us tell you who we are.
Hello, my name is Richard Stearns, also known as Richie. I'm 25 years of age. I'm an antique dealer. My family lives in West Virginia, but I grew up in Baltimore. About the time I met Tom, I just turned 14. Things were pretty hard in my life. I spent a lot of time on the streets, and I discovered sex very young, with both girls, boys, men, and women. I felt that sex was good, and I still love it. Tom is not the first man I went out with. Today I'm bisexual, but I identify as gay, and I'm happy about it. My girlfriend, some of my straight friends, went last Sunday to Gay Pride in Baltimore, along with several of my past and present lovers, including Tom.
I'm Tom Rees. I teach history. I'm 55. My first lover was 14, and I was then 23. He is still my good friend. He's a prominent Canadian documentarian and writer. After 33 years of relationships, James Dubrow was here tonight. He came down from Toronto to be here.
Okay, so now he's saying the other little boy he raped has grown up and has come all the way from Toronto to support him. And the whole premise for this is that they're trying to say that, hey, these kids are consenting. Now, mind you, children are very impressionable. So their argument goes something like this. If a grown person comes to you and tells you they were having sex with an adult, yes, lovers instead of rapists, shy girl complex. And that's what I wanted to talk about too. I wanted to talk about the sleight of hand in language. They're calling it an orientation now. They're calling it love. They're using the gay talking points. Because mind you, this is a LGBTQAI rally here. Well, they didn't have the I at the time. They identify as queer. So when we talk about the gay agenda, this is what we're talking about. I want to show you guys something else. I want to read you guys this, okay? I know that you can see it, but I'm going to read it to you. This is Spiegel Online. This page has been giving me so much trouble, but let's try to read it. In the spring of 1970, Ursula Besser found an unfamiliar briefcase in front of her apartment door. It wasn't that unusual in those days for people to leave things at her door or drop smaller items into her letter slot. She was, after all, a member of the Berlin State Parliament. What did she find? The briefcase contained a stack of paper, the typewritten daily reports on an educational work, this is in Germany, educational work in an after-school center in Berlin, where up to 15 children aged 8 through 14 were taken care of during the afternoon. The first report was dated August 13th, 1969, and the last one was written on January 14th, 1970. What was going on? The goal of the center was to shape, now tell me if this doesn't sound like our current school system. The goal of the center was to shape the students into socialist personalities. We talked about this during my cognitive liberation series and social revolution series, how they indoctrinate your mind to cultural ideals and norms. And this is the danger of centralized education provided by the government. So the goal of the center was to shape the students into socialist personalities, and its educational mission went well beyond supervised play. The center's agenda included agitprop on the situation in Vietnam and street fighting, in which the children were divided into students and cops. The educator's notes indicate that they placed very strong emphasis on sex education. Almost every day, the students played games that involved taking off their clothes, reading porno magazines together, and pantomiming intercourse. According to the records, a sex exercise was conducted on December 11th. You guys have probably heard of Brave New World. How many people were forced to read that in school, in the chat room? It's not just Germany, though. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you the problem with the Western world. And people are going to say I'm picking on white people, but I'm not. It's just reality. The problem with the Western world is that they are bred from a stock of Greeks and Romans. And Greco-Roman society, this is what they are. This is their history. And as they integrate with other people, they have to slowly indoctrinate you into their historical functioning. And historically, they function in a way that includes children as sexual beings. Okay, I'm going to come off of here. Let me come back on, y'all, because you guys know I'm still folding clothes. I really am. So I want to come back and I want to talk to you guys. Oh, and hi to Angel. So I want to come back and I just want to talk to you guys, okay? I want to open up the conversation. Let's see if I can do this. You guys know I'm bad at everything in life. I really am. I can't do anything. I really can't. I want to open up the conversation because when we look at things like pole dancing is an art, let's have the kids pole dance. Let's talk to the kids about sexual orientation and sexual positions in school. Let's do all of those things. Then what we are doing at that point is we're reaching sort of a precipice where we're crossing over into their mindset. And their mindset is a sick mindset, right? It's an abnormal mindset. They have a movement on Twitter called Heart Progress and Pedosexual. Yeah. Where they're fighting for their rights. Yes, white. Exactly. But see, and this is when I was, the video I had to switch over to my Patreon because it was going to get my channel flagged. When I was talking about Blacks are very forgiving. The thing is this, if you, and honesty is not hate. if you are honest about this, people will say that you're hating on white people, but you can't help it that they're all white. There is so much. I'm telling you, I started creating a little folder for this information. Everybody's white. White and white to me can extend to other places. Do you know what I mean? But we know right now Europe has the highest instance of pedophilia in the world. Right now. So hold on. Let me open this up. But so we started with the NAACP and we're on some other stuff now. But I want to talk about this. So give me 1 second. I'm going to see if anybody feels like talking about this with me. Because y'all, I also, while we're doing this, I still really do need to fold clothes. Because I've gotten caught up in talking to you guys. But I don't know. I feel like there is an obvious agenda here, right? And we can keep ignoring it and we can keep coddling these groups and making it like, I was on Hugh Butter's channel with a gay man and he sounded very, very logical, right? But the thing is that, I don't know, I feel like they pretend to be normal to throw you off. Because that's part of it, right? If you view them as normal people, then you feel bad. You feel badly to criticize their behavior. But I just don't know. I wasn't even trying to talk about the gays today, but somehow, like I said, I saw the little girl pole dancing that made me think of child sexualization, that led me to pedophilia, that brought me to white people, and it brought me to the gays. Like I can't, all roads leads to the gays. Like I don't know. I feel like all roads lead to the gays, and I cannot help that. I don't know how to feel about it. I really don't. So I'm curious to know, because Connor, you're always the voice of dissent. Do you still feel, Connor? Can we still equate that to? Can we still equate that to ballet? Prince, yeah, we already drugged the NAACP. We know the NAACP doesn't represent us. We know that. We know the NAACP doesn't represent us. I know that very well. I don't know if there's like enough things I can do right now. Sorry, I'm like sending emails and I'm like talking to you guys at the same time. And I cannot I can't think and type and talk. Is that bad? Does that sound wrong? I can't think and type and talk, y'all. Like there's a limit to the number of things that I could do here. But anyway, yeah, so that just got me all thinking. Just on the whole issue.
Peace.
So we've gone like a lot of directions. Hey, Gab. We started with the NAACP and now we're here. But y'all, when I saw that little girl pole dancing, it was very disturbing to me. I just never wanted to see that much of a child's body and be looking in between a child's legs. Like it was just a whole lot for me. I was pretty disgusted. I was like, okay, they're really trying to take this really ultra far right now. Hey, Gab. Hi, Cynthia.
Hey, Irene.
I'm curious what you guys think of this. And I'm also curious what you guys, even though it's like a totally separate topic, think of the NAACP wanting us to boycott Facebook.
I think Facebook should be boycotted boycotted. I don't think that the NAACP should have had to tell us that, but I just think the NAACP is full of agents. I don't even really give them really any merit. I don't. Like, they're the NAACP. It's like, I mean, if we're gonna boycott them, we should boycott them, but not because the NAACP suggested it. I mean, it's like they don't do anything. So why will we even listen to them? Like, where do they get off? Okay, telling us what to do. No, but there are a number of different pedophile sympathizers in your chat room.
Wait, there's pedophile sympathizers in the chat room? Really?
Yes. Yes. They are in there. One of them is one of your mods, and he's in there making excuses for pedophilia. It doesn't make any sense.
BlackMaleTalk? Yeah, I sent you the link. Why don't you come up here, BMT? No, I think he thrives on being controversial. So let him come up here and explain his controversiality, because he thrives on starting mess.
So you think he's trying to get some attention?
No, I think he says crazy stuff all the time.
He gonna have his reason though. Why?
Yeah, he's gonna have a reason. It's gonna resonate with some people. That's why he's dangerous.
Well, the thing of it is saying that pedophilia is straight across the board is just a factually untrue comment. So, I mean, you can have your controversial opinion, but some things surpass controversial and they go into you're just lying, because it's not straight across the board. Everyone knows globally, most of your pedophiles, significantly upwards of 80-90% are white. So that's not straight across the board. I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, I just wanted to make a comment on it, Irene.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is the power of society, meaning, you know, the human being, men and women, and whoever rules the society, they get to change the rules. They make the rules and they get to change them, unless there's some force that is able to make sure that they do not. And they're showing us time and time again that when we decide and make decisions, there's no force and power that can overrule it. And so I think they're going to continue to push and push. I'm glad it's coming out, to be honest with you. We need to see all sides of our enemies, to some extent, for those of us who consider the world powers enemies, without getting your channel at risk. I just put it like that. But yeah, they can always change the rules whenever they feel like it. Then they can use, like BMT said in the chat, he was saying about how young people were in the biblical times. You know, I don't know how we know all of it, or even if people believe it. You know, a lot of people don't even believe in the Bible like that.
Right, Gab, I was going to say, you already know what I think about Christianity and the Bible, so we won't even go there.
Does that include the Quran too?
Yeah, they'll tie in historic accounts and stuff like that to it too. But either way, I just think that
those are from
does that include the Quran too?
White religion.
Yes, it does include the Quran.
Okay,
yes.
so we both know they both have pedophilia in there, right?
So you were down in the comments defending pedophilia?
Yeah.
Religion.
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly.
Well, shut up. You were down in the comments defending pedophilia?
Oh, me? Nah. I just said I ain't defending pedophilia. I just called it in.
So you're just
I called it out. I mean, if we're gonna call stuff, I said, listen, if we're gonna talk about pedophilia, make sure you bring up the Bible and the Quran, because we all know those are two books that highly talk about Mary and Magdalene, who was at a young age. Also Jacob, the woman that he wanted to marry, that he wasn't allowed to marry, Rachel, she was a child. The father didn't want him to marry her, so he had to work a few years just to get her, and he was a grown man. Like, We can look these things up in the
No,
Bible.
she wasn't a child. Don't say that. That's
Okay, no. Let's call the stuff for what it is. I mean, don't try to make them seem like they're adults, like this some white movie where Jesus was white and stuff. They just call it for what it is. They were
okay.
kids.
So what about outside of religion then? Because everybody's not a Christian.
So we got it. So they don't have a rally in Africa where they're telling adults stop having sex with kids because they have the adults have HIV and they believe that having sex with the kids will get rid of the HIV. We can pull this up.
But here's the thing: it's not the random AIDS victims in Africa that are trying to push an agenda.
Irene, he's trying to bring false equivalency, and this is
how's that false equivalency?
It is a false equivalency.
What's false equivalency about
just being a predator and wanting to have sex with the child just because that is their sexual orientation versus a culture of people. This isn't all Africans, by the way. These are different. These are different cultures and tribes within Africa who have these belief systems. You're not going to act like that's African on the continent.
So we're going to say. So we're not going to act like that's all of Europe that condones pedophilia.
Hold on, because first of all, Africa is colonized by whiteness. So you can miss me with talking about that. Then you try to normalize it. You try to normalize it by talking about it with across the board, and no, it's not across the board. I don't know where you're getting your information from, but it's not across the board. Did you even look up any data before you said that? Or
yeah, actually, you can pull it up. We can actually just pull it up easily.
Well, let me say this.
We can pull it up very easily. I'm actually looking at it right now.
Across the board. It's not across the board.
Have you been to that rally?
Always a black man engaging in some foolish rhetoric like this. I don't get it. Like, I really don't.
Okay, so I got a question. So are we gonna pretend like they don't have a show called Bring It that black women dance and have young girls dancing and twerking and gyrating on the floor sexually?
I don't know. I've never seen it.
Oh, but y'all didn't know about that show. Go ahead and YouTube it.
It's condoning pedophilia.
Go ahead and YouTube it. They got a few seasons going on right now.
I know what show you're talking about. What does that have to do with the movement?
So wait. So you're gonna say
I'm asking a question.
White people don't have a show like that, but we're not gonna call out the show called Bring It, where a bunch of girls. No, Irene, go ahead and put the show.
It's a dance team.
Wait. The pole is cool, but the girls twerking and jumping and gyrating on the floor, also having young boys sexually act like females, that's cool too. But we're gonna overlook that. If you want to call one thing, make sure you call the other thing too.
We're talking about you normalizing.
No. Keep it 100.
To legalize pedophilia and say that babies can consent to sex. What does that have to do with that?
No. Because you got young mothers bringing their daughters out there to sexually, and I don't see no men out there saying, "Hey, I'm glad my daughter's out there twerking on the floor in front of a bunch of grown men on national TV." Right. So we're gonna pretend like these fathers are bringing these daughters out there. Now, I see women. Mind you, the only man out there is gay.
What does that have to do with the push for pedophilia and saying that babies and young kids can consent to sex? What does that show have to do with
that? Right now, are they fine with seeing young girls in a show where they are jerking, twerking, and sexually over-sexualizing?
You can talk to Gavin, Irene. You no longer exist to me because you can't even answer questions. You keep asking.
Ask the question.
Let me speak on something. I just want to say this. I don't approve of the children pole dancing, and I don't approve of children dancing like adults in a sexual manner, period. But that has nothing to do with the complete agenda that is organized with organizations worldwide that is pushing the age of consent down for the sexualization of children. Like, those are two different things. And I don't approve of the former. I think it all contributes to the problem. But I'm talking about people who are pushing policy, people who are coming forward with their gay child lovers saying this child chose. The gentleman we were talking about earlier that said out of the womb, an infant, a baby, a newborn baby can choose to engage in sexual acts with a full-grown adult. That's what I'm talking about. Now, I don't want to use this anecdotal stuff that feeds into that beast, whether those people realize it or not. I want to talk to the people about the people who are knowingly choosing this, and to act like those anecdotal things are anything compared to a complete society where it was commonplace to carry on full-on relationships with little boys as the norm, even over women, is totally different. Now, I'm not saying that the latter is, or the former is any better, but I'm saying that we are turning our society into a Greco-Roman society. And what we are seeing is a result of that, because this is historically how they do things in Europe. And that part we cannot ignore.
He clearly wants to be a part of it, which is why he's advocating and making false equivalencies. Like, your examples have nothing to do with what we're talking about. And you know that it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. That's why you can't even answer simple questions.
What's your question? So that's the first question. I'll listen. I'm actually be patient. This is her platform, so I'll be patient and listen. So what's your first one, please? Go ahead.
What does the show Bring It On have to do with a movement geared towards normalizing and legalizing pedophilia and saying that babies out of the womb can consent to sex? What does Bring It On have to do with that?
Well, Bring It On takes our young daughters and sexualizes them, just like the pole dancing.
Everything sexualizes young girls. What does that have to do with these policies?
Oh, hold on. But you just missed what Irene, if you listen to Irene saying about the girl who was 8 years old, correct, Irene? The girl was 8 years old, right?
She was 8 years old, yeah.
Okay, now, in Bring It On, they're taking girls younger than 8, 6 years old, 5 years old, having them on the floor. Mind you, the actual coach is formerly used to be in porn. But everybody already knows that. But she already came out and said, God forgives me, all that good stuff. And she'll take these girls and have them dance and gyrate and twerk and do sexual things in front of judges and everybody else. This is national TV, so don't worry, they're getting paid. And they'll do this, and they'll have they'll have their mothers bring them out here. Well, maybe my daughter can be on your show. Maybe my daughter can be a dancing doll. That's what they call them, dancing dolls. Most of the coaches on there are either gay or highly effeminate or some type of thing. But see, we'll overlook that with our daughters. Mind you, I'm not talking about the white man. I'm talking about our daughters. And we'll say that's just dancing. But see, to some people, that's just dancing. But I don't call that dancing when my daughter is scissoring in front of a bunch of men wearing some skin tight little coochie cutter and then saying, oh, wait, this is the new type of dance. I ain't never seen no damn dance where a bunch of white girls are going around on the floor doing that shit that are. But mind you, these ain't just 1 or 2 or 3 black girls. Go look up the show, Bring It. This is hundreds of black girls. Now it's a competition in Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas. These girls are now all in the South doing this. So we're not going to make it seem like our culture is highly not doing it. Now they got competition. I can show you because my wife used to watch that.
But brother, let me cut in. With Cynthia and Irene is saying, it's a distinction in there. They're talking about legalizing pedophilia. Like I think the part about you made your analogy with the dancing on that pole. I think that is congruent. I think that is the same thing. What you're saying about Bring It and the girl doing it on the pole. All of that sexualizing our young girls. And your point is solid about we're doing shit like that too. But the pedophilia, I don't think you're gonna find many of us voting shit like that in or pushing for stuff like that.
But you know, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, brother Gab.
I don't even realize that those two are not the same. So that's the problem. You're trying to. I feel like we're trying to explain something to somebody who either is willingly choosing to not get it because they want to be a pedophile, or they're just for video. And
I'm not attacking somebody. I want y'all to know this.
I'm not attacking you.
Okay, then don't say I want to be a pedophile, but I didn't attack you.
I'm saying either or. That's my opinion. Is that
okay? That's your opinion. But I just
now. I can be wrong, but you're purposely, the fact that you're purposely overlooking the fact that these are two completely different things kind of makes me feel like you want to be a pedophile because you were in the chat room.
Kelly made a statement in his last song.
We're not talking about R. Kelly. Why
no. I just want to bring up. I like to bring up facts, and I can even pull up the lyrics. R. Kelly.
These are not things that we're talking about. You're bringing up stuff that nobody is.
That we know as a pedophile literally said men, stepfathers, and mothers would bring their daughters to me.
So I don't even have to hear what you have to say because it's like
you don't have to. It's your opinion. But I'm just saying, if R. Kelly, somebody that we know and accused as a pedophile, said that grown men and women would bring their daughters to him, how do you take that?
Gab and Irene, you can go.
That's fine. I don't have like I said.
Okay.
I won't be addressing him anymore. I won't be addressing him. He doesn't answer questions. He's purposely lying, and I really do think he's
lying. We can pull up the lyrics. Why don't y'all just pull up the lyrics where R. Kelly said that?
Okay, but this is what I'll have to say. Okay, this is going to be my input on this. I hear what you are saying. We know that pedophilia, and I've done 2 videos on this, on pedophilia and child rape against little girls in the Black community, which we know is upwards of 60% of child rape and pedophilia against boys in the Black community. This is a very serious problem within our community. I understand. I believe that we do teach our children to be hypersexual at a young age. It is highly, highly inappropriate. I agree with that completely. I don't approve of our children dancing sexually and all of those things. Not doubting that and not disagreeing with that. That is all right. Okay. But this is kind of the sleight of hand that happens. And this is what made me do that video on Arab slavery, right? This is the same sort of sleight of hand that people use when you try to bring up chattel slavery in the United States. They go, well, the Arabs had slaves too. Okay, so the Arabs did have slaves, but that's not what we're discussing, right? We're discussing chattel slavery. So do Black people have a problem with pedophilia in their community? Yes, we have that problem in our community. Do we sexualize our children at a young age? Yes. Do I disagree with all those? Yes. However, Black people haven't put together a coalition so that they can have legal access to young girl vagina.
I would agree with you on that.
Or young boy vagina. Black people aren't on that clip I played earlier saying that they believe that a child can consent to sexual activity with them the minute they leave the womb. That if a little kid comes over and is curious because something's hanging in between your legs, that's their way of communicating they want you to give them a blowjob. That is totally different.
But here's the difference, Irene, that he's not understanding, because where did Black people get these sexualized attitudes from? Because you can go to the continent and now, and they have Africans who they walk around with barely any clothes on. They don't see it as a sexual thing. They have little children doing traditional African dances that a lot of people here would think is sexual, but they don't see it as sexual. So who perverted the mindset of Black people in America, really, to where they believe that these things are sexual and should be sexualized? Because you have Black people who can't even look at some Black men who can't even look at a little girl in certain attire and not sexualize her, despite the fact that their mind should know that this is not a sexual being. This is a child. They haven't developed into their sexuality yet. So to me, it's more about who perverted the mindset of Black people to where they think sexually on the level of these Europeans. That's what I'm saying. These are learned behaviors for the most part, because you have things going on in Africa. You have dances that are similar to what a lot of those kids are doing, and they don't sexualize these things. They don't sexualize them. They've been walking around naked, titty and dick out all day. They don't sexualize that.
There's a documentary that I can pull it up if I need to, that there's all girl schools, and there's a Black female radio host of a radio station, and she was saying that they had adoption agencies in schools set up for young girls, where the teacher would tell the students that if you don't have sex with me, you're going to fail. And the girls know if they fail, they have a chance of being kicked out of the program. Now, these teachers, these male teachers, would do this to hundreds of girls. And one of the girls say, well, why don't you say anything? Well, if you get rid of him, there'll be another, because most of the men are educated more than the females. And they'll say, well, I gotta go. I'm the only one in my house that goes to school, and I don't want to let down my family. Now, the mother's not educated, but the daughter is. And the daughter is being told, if I want to graduate, I have to have sex with this teacher. Now, I'm not going to say, like I said, I've been over there. I freed hundreds of child slaves. I'm not sure if you ever open up a trailer and see naked bodies laying down in a hot box and pull them out almost half dead. and try to keep them alive. But I'm not going to pretend like this is only one thing that only just happens. The only thing about it that I will definitely say is that the white man has more authority and power where he can be open about his bullshit than the black person can. See, let's just be real about that. I ain't going to front about that. See, the white man don't have to hide like black people do. See, but it's different when certain black people, which we ain't going to pretend like Diddy, who is close to being a billionaire, he openly said that he had Usher when Usher was a young boy sleeping in bed with him. Diddy didn't hide that shit, but Diddy has money. We're not going to pretend like the young girl who, when she tried to get into acting, she got around Bill Cosby and she said, listen, Bill Cosby put me through school. Bill Cosby, this stuff. Now, this was a young girl. Bill Cosby put a lot of people on. And you know, I mean, I don't want the brother, I didn't want the brother to go to jail, but we ain't gonna pretend like certain blacks, when they got certain authority, mind you, The Color Purple, which was written by a woman. How old was Harpo when he came to the house to come get not the oldest daughter, the youngest daughter? Mind you, the daddy had already raped Celie, got her pregnant. So that was a woman writing a story talking about how in the family, black women get raped, but they don't say nothing about it, but they pass it on, or they keep that same type of dark mentality that, hey, somebody abused me, so fuck it. I could flip the game again. Like, the thing about it is, and I'm not taking anything away from what Cynthia's saying, but we're not going to pretend like it's not straight across the board and that we don't play the game too. It's only who gets caught. I see a lot of young brothers with women who already got a house, who already got a family. I'm like, yo, bro, why are you with her? Oh, shit, man, she taking care of me. Dude, she's grooming you. She's rearing you. The thing about it is white people can afford to be open about it because they know, just like the teacher who was caught by the law, and the lawyer said, hey, the student wanted it. You can look it up. It just happened not too long ago. Prophet of Thought did a story on it. But in the same sense, let a black teacher do that, she know her ass is done. So, I mean, we ain't gonna pretend like this don't happen. The only thing different about black people, you're not in the authority to come out and have a pedo like background like this.
Do you honestly believe that black people, if we had the power, we would be creating school programs where all of our children got together naked and looked at pornography and pretended to have sex with each other? Do you honestly believe that if black people had power, we would be trying to push the age of consent to out of the womb, 1 day old, so that we can have access to having sex with or orally copulating with, 1 day old babies? Because that's what they're pushing for.
We're not in that position to make that, to even know.
I'm just saying, do you honestly believe?
Yeah, we could. If we was in that position, we would try to do the same shit white people do. Because why? Let's be for real. Black people. No, we're not gonna Gab. We're not gonna pretend like we don't have.
Let Gab speak though. Really.
Let me just say.
I'm gonna let you. I'm ready to go anyway.
Go ahead.
But I see what you're trying to speak from some kind of large black collective, but just out of your own experience though, do you have the life's experiences with people involved in your life that you think we would legislate that kind of activity? Just from your own life's experience. And that may not be the right way to go.
Do we have the people that were legislating?
Yes, this kind of activity, like they're pushing legislation for this kind of activity. Do you? And from my life's experiences, I don't know people like that. That would now people have done that, and we heard about it and stuff like that, but it's no kind of on any kind of large scale.
Pastor Eddie Long, we had pastors.
Say it again.
We had pastors who knowingly had HIV. And we're fucking the boys at his Bible camp, and he was giving them HIV. And he had
answer my question though.
Black women were defending him.
But as far as my question is concerned, do you have the life's experience that you think that we would be legislating this kind of stuff and not punishing people for entering into that?
No, I don't think we would ask to push it, but we're not gonna.
You know how I know that it wouldn't happen? I know that because for the same reason I said that I know Black people are forgiving. See, the thing that is very different between us and white people is that there are some things that they will do that we won't do, and that's part of the reason why we are still so oppressed, right? And so submissive and acquiescent to the system. Whereas, white people will literally burn you alive, put your babies in a cage, smash their heads in,
Right.
Lynch you, put tape in your mouth and watch you die, create postcards of them with dead babies and dead men and dead children smiling and sell them at the store. Because, this is all stuff that used to go on in this country. As where white people will do that, Black people won't. Because see, if we would be in a civil war right now. If we had it in us to behave just without a moral compass at all, just screw this, we're going to just do whatever comes to our mind. Because that is how they act on the regular. That's how they act historically. That's how they act throughout the world. Not picking on white people. That's just facts. If we were literally capable of having that debased of a mindset, we would already be doing that. But the fact that we're not doing that, to me, says that we don't have that kind of mindset. So I don't know, because it's not even a matter of having the power, right? Because the reason that they have power is because they are willing to use force that is so extreme and egregious that it pulls people into submission.
Correct.
We could do the same thing, right? We could choose to do the same thing, but Black people have continuously not chosen. It's only been small sects. It's been our people, the Gullahs, right?
Yeah.
Some random slave here or there, some random Black man. Recently, there was one. But for the most part, Black people don't move like that. That's why I don't believe that we would ever do this. Because even if some of us behave that way, all of us would never tolerate it. Whereas it is their norm to be debased. That's the norm for them. The good ones are the exception. The whites that aren't like that are the exception to the rule, not the norm. And that has been proven historically throughout the world. I mean, can you argue against that?
No, I'm not going to argue against that. I'm not going to argue against that, what you're saying. And I'm not trying to, let alone, I think the thing about it was, and again, there was no trying to disrespect the panel. I didn't like, but I'm never gonna let somebody disrespect me and call me a pedo. And I have a full-on functioning family. That's the first time I'll just let y'all all know. If you come at me about my family and my lifestyle, I'm gonna buck back. I'm just letting y'all know that as a full-on dominating Black man, I'm gonna speak my truth. You don't have to like it. Hey, mute me or don't fuck with me. But I just want you to know that I have seen plenty of Black men and just Black people in general. When they start getting authority and they can hang around certain groups, they tend to try to do the things that they do because then they're in that type of authority. I think the movie, called what is it called? The Purge. If you can get away with the fuckery, you're gonna do it. If you can get away with the fuckery, you're gonna do it. And the thing about it is, Black people, we have not been in that type of authority in a long time. We're not gonna pretend like Blacks weren't conquering their way up in Europe. That's why that was the Dark Ages. They were talking about the Moors. Y'all, Gab, I believe you know about that, correct, brother? We're Black. I'm not sure if Gab is still here. But Blacks were conquering, doing things. If we could have conquered the world, we would have done it. But we didn't. We weren't able to do it as successful as everybody else was. But we were doing that. But in the same sense, no, Blacks do not condone that. No, I'm not going to say Blacks condone pedophilia. And no, I do not support that. I know what it's like to be sexually abused by an adult. Mainly, I had Black women sexually try to abuse me when I was a child and smile on my face at church. Me and you, Irene, we had a personal talk about that, did we not?
Yeah, we did, but I wasn't going to say anything during that conversation.
It's okay. I'm just saying that because I don't mind letting it be known, an example that yes, Black women sexually try to abuse me for 2 years as a 13-year-old boy, all the way up to I was 15. Didn't mind trying to come in my room, didn't mind trying to fill me up. Mind you, women that go to church, women that had a job, women that had men, but they still chose to partake in that.
And I just want to say, you know, in the chat room, I knew this information when he was talking earlier to Cynthia and Gab, and I didn't speak on it because it's not my place to share that information. So when he was going hard on how we are sexualizing our own children and how there's pedophilia in the Black community, I understood the perspective and the lens he was seeing that through. He was seeing it through the lens of that huge percentage of our children who were taken advantage of as little ones. That's information you guys didn't know in the chat. And that's why I tell you guys, you know, we have to recognize that everybody sees the world through their lens, and we have to be open to hearing each other, because a person may not divulge their whole story to you so you can understand why they take an approach to a conversation or situation the way that they do. I still think that we have to address the issues separately, but parallel. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They need to be addressed separately, but parallel. We have to obviously attack what's going on in our community, but we also have to be cognizant and aware of when we are promoting homeschooling, when we're promoting opening Black schools, when we're looking at policy, when we're looking at traitors within our community, when we're looking at supporting the LGBTQAI agenda, even if the people that are part of that agenda share Black skin with us, that this is tied into a bigger picture that makes our children targets. So a lot of these subjects do overlap. For that matter, I could drag in the issue with, you know, social services and CPS harvesting Black children out of the Black community and then giving them to homosexuals who are in bed with pedophiles, because the pedophiles are part of the queer part of the LGBTQ for queer agenda. So, you know, but the reason we have to have our pulse on this, right, is, and this goes back to the NAACP conversation, right? Bill Clinton was good friends with a pedophile who had a whole island.
Correct.
Where all they did was have sex parties and things.
Yes, that is true.
But then these are the same people who want to vote for Hillary Clinton and put her in office. But mind you, Bill Clinton wasn't his only friend. So whilst we have to attack the issues in the Black community, we also have to recognize that these are the people that are formulating the curriculum for our schools, where sex education isn't just about male and female reproductivity. It now includes sexuality, which never used to be discussed, because sexuality was a given, right? It was just reproductivity. How do we reproduce as human beings? Which then is turning into actual acts of sex, because when they want to teach safe sex, then they're teaching sexual acts. If you're teaching the LGBTQI agenda, then those sexual acts include deviancies. If the LGBTQI agenda includes pedophiles, and this is now an orientation, a sexual orientation that can or cannot be acted upon, then yes, I'll agree with you. Us sexualizing our girls, sexualizing our boys, making it like, you know, a boy cannot be sexually abused because all sexual overtures to him are conquests, so it can never be abuse. That all plays into that. But it's fuel for the fire, right?
It is.
But we have to not just talk about the sticks that are being thrown in the fire, which is what I would consider all of those latter things. We have to talk about the bonfire itself. We can help not feed it with some of our behaviors, but also, do you know what I mean? We have to recognize that the big push for this.
I see what you're saying. And I get what you're saying. And honestly, I want people to understand this, because a lot of people, I don't even know what the fuck dust means. If y'all remember Alia, or Aaliyah, some people want to call her, R. Kelly had married her at a very young age. On national TV, they came out about it. They were open about it. They weren't hiding. Not one Black person tried to stop their show, try to call them out. try to say, yo, there's something wrong with this shit. Like, we need to stop. But because they had money and they were in a powerful position, they were getting, only person who stopped it was the mama. Because the mama said, yo, I didn't even know my daughter got married. Like, when the hell this happened? She even made a song called Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. But I remember there was a lot of people, and yes, the Pope did sleep with kids. He was sleeping with little boys. Again, this is why there's a lot of stuff we got going on. People are sick. People are truly getting sick. And yes, white people have been doing it. We know about Shakespeare and this plays. They were using boys. They weren't trying to do that. I've been to different places where in Japan, they didn't use women. They used kids for a lot of the female roles. And these kind of things are very much frowned upon. Nobody in the world is happy to watch a child. I mean, I can't speak predominantly. I think my way is different because I've traveled. I'm well versed in travel. So how I see things, no man is going to physically want to watch his child be raped by other men. If he does, then he's less than an infidel. He's less than a dog. But the thing bad about it is we are adopting a lot of bad customs and stereotypes from how y'all want to say the oppressors. We're adopting a lot of their bad stereotypes. Can we agree on that? And the thing about it is, I learned when I was a child, if I saw an adult make a mistake or do something stupid, and I saw them get afflicted by that, it was worse if I did it, because then I had the opportunity to learn from it. And the thing about it is, Black people, and I'm speaking to y'all, I'm speaking predominantly to us. We can't afford to keep making we can't afford to make those mistakes that they make, that white people make. They want to get over sexual and deviant and in all kind of ways. And me and Irene talked about gays and stuff, because y'all, we just did a talk about that. And look at our kids now. I've seen videos of two little boys and putting their wee-wees together, and the man is watching them and recording, say, hey, y'all two stop. But he watched them for like 15 seconds do that. We're not going to make it seem like we're not seeing young men go and join these hardcore thug-like gangs and recruit younger boys and turn them out. Again, it's all in who has a position of power to oppress and put on what they feel, or the person. That's why they call it the top and the bottom. When I'm seeing us make live shows of little kids, and I even told my wife, yo, don't be showing that to my daughters. Oh, it's just dancing. Yeah, it starts off with just dancing, but now I see a little 5-year-old go on the floor and do an eagle spread and start humping the ground, and all the crowd like, yeah! How is that helping Black people? Because understand this, when you start letting your children get over-sexualized and deviant, just like that 11-year-old boy, guess what? Guess who's watching them? Grown men. And we're not going to pretend like a lot of these grown men, and I'm as a young man, I ain't going to pretend like I didn't see these young girls when they were 15 and 16 get picked up by older guys, and because they had a car, because they had some weed, because they had a drink, and they were enticing. And they picked up the young girl, and guess what? Pregnant. Life fucked up. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, all that I'm going to say is this. I feel like I agree that we have to address these.
Hello? Irene.
Oh, sorry. I was just talking.
You was on mute. I think you was going in, but
yeah, I was. So I agree that we have to address these things in the Black community. I do. And I agree that I agree with much of what you said. But what I feel is that if somebody is beating somebody into the dirt, right?
Right.
And I go, we really need to talk about getting this person under control because they are always beating people into the dirt. They're always bashing someone's face, and this is a problem. And then you go to me, well, you know, Bill slaps people around too. What about Bill?
It doesn't make it right.
Right. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we can address both issues. I don't know how to feel about this because you know what? I feel I get back into the same, yeah, you can, Angel, but you know what? I don't know your email address. That's the problem. I don't want you to put your email address in the chat box. So let me see.
Oh, the main thing about it is this, because like I said, when I was overseas and I was over there in Afghanistan, we got invited to a wedding. Now, this is in an Arab country. Okay. Now, we thought we were going to have some nice little gypsy girls come out and dance for us. And you can go look up the documentary on YouTube. And before we go take part of any of these types of things in other cultures, because we was invited to a wedding, we're not allowed to spend money. We're not allowed to touch the women. We're not allowed to do any of that. It's very disrespectful to them. We didn't think that they were going to bring out young boys, have them dressed up like women, and have them dance and perform. That shit threw me off guard. I was like, hold on. That's not a woman. That's a boy. That's a young boy. Actually, all of them are boys. Go ahead. If y'all see, that's the thing about it is, until you actually start immersing yourself in some of these countries, and you can go look it up, but it's a documentary. And yes, it's against the rules, but guess what? They still practice it. They still practice it, very much so. We're not gonna pretend like this ain't no fair. We're not gonna pretend like in some areas, if you need money bad enough in India, guess what? You're gonna give up your kid. You're gonna give up your kid. Like, Arabs will pay $50K for sex with a young boy. Yep. Oh, they'll drop some. Yeah, you're right about that, Rob Carpenter. You gotta understand, like the stuff ain't this. Like I said, I don't just research and do statistics. I was fortunate to go see these places.
I have to tell you, I have to be honest with you, and I know everybody doesn't feel like this. They're all white to me. These are
wow.
I'm not even. I mean, everybody doesn't agree with that. The Arabs are white to me.
What?
The
Arabs are brown, Irene.
I even feel that Asian people are white. I'm not even kidding right now. I mean, I know everybody doesn't feel that way, but I hear you just talking about white people. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing this white group did this and that white group did that. I don't know. Hi, Angel.
No, Twali and Muhammad. I'm not gonna say not everyone. But I know one brother, and he was former Taliban. That man will kill to protect his children. He will kill to protect. I'm not gonna say not everyone, but I'm gonna tell you right now. Some of the places that we've been, and we had Operation Freedom in 2015. I gratefully freed over 300,000 sex slave children who either had their genitals removed, either had their nipples removed, or has something done to them. And mentally, we either put them in schools or had them reloaded into different countries. And we even took some of them back to their home, and the mothers and the fathers would not take them because they were how do you say it? That's the word. It's when the body has been destroyed, like they could not take them. Like once you break them, that's the one thing about some of these places is breaking the innocence of a child to some of these people is like makes them feel superior. But if you listen to the story that you played, Irene, with the guy who got pushed down the stairs, he was the victim, correct?
Well, he got pushed down the stairs because he was a sexual deviant. But Angel, do you want to chime in on this?
Now, who did he go after? He went after somebody who was lesser than him.
A sexual deviant.
Right.
And some people pushed him down the stairs. That often happens when you're a freak. Like that occurs. when you have an unhealthy mindset that people vehemently, you know, reject. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Angel, chime in if you want to chime in.
Okay, defiled. Yeah, there you go, defiled. Thank you, Shy Girl. I knew the word. I just couldn't get it out.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah, we can hear you, Angel.
Okay. Peace. So I don't want to stay on here too long, but one of the things that Black people do whenever we're talking about sometimes other communities is we find a way to be self-deprecating, where we find a way to blame ourselves and almost make us comparable to the actions of others, where we'll say, oh, but we're talking about white people or Asian people or other non-Black people. But what about the Black community? What about Black on Black violence? Or what about this? Or what about that? When we start to lose focus of the issue at hand and what we might be talking about. And sometimes we're not giving it the right attention, where we're not actually focusing on the influence of dominant and greater populous societies. Like, for example, you have the influence of white people or Asian people. Now, Irene mentioned how she sees Arabs as white. Now, Arab's not a race. Arab is actually a culture. The clue is in the language they speak is Arabic. There's Arab food, Arab music. It's a culture. There are Black Arabs. There are white Arabs. There are Mongoloid Arabs, and there are multi-generationally mixed Arabs. You know, I mean, that's self-explanatory. However, even if you start talking about, let's say Africa. Let's talk about Africa, for example.
Go ahead.
When the colonizers came to Africa, they saw Black women that were in some cases naked, or and they sexualized the female form. They sexualized it to a point where it was like, oh my God. And we sometimes follow suit. There's this whole aspect. It might be in a book by Paulo Freire. It's called Pedagogy of the Oppressed, where it discusses about when you have oppressed peoples, they look at their oppressors as being the greatest example of what it means to be free. So they try to emulate that. Okay. Now, of course, there are issues within our community. There are. And if we think to ourselves, well, the only way that we can be free or be likened to our oppressors is for us to oppress those that we deem as less than ourselves. I mentioned before, I think her name is Zora Neale Hurston. She said that, and I'm paraphrasing, she said the nigger woman is the mule of the world as far as I can see, because she said the white man gives the Black man the load, and the Black man throws it at the Black woman and says, you do it. Now, this is just an example. We're not talking about Black men versus Black women, but sometimes within our community, we will try to emulate things that white people do, or Asians, or non-Black Arabs, or non-Black Hispanics do, to try and feel as though we are better than them. But a lot of these things are learned behavior. Even to go back to the root cause of a lot of issues, you start to think to yourself, okay, hold on. There is, one of the sad things, and I'm not 100% on the stats for this, but I have read something that 2 out of every 3 Black women will experience some sort of sexual assault once in their life. And then you may have the figures for those particular stats that may come from within their own community. Now, we know that we have a thing called, I believe it's proximity crime. So, of course, if you're in a Black community and a Black woman is a victim of rape or sexual assault, the chances are it is going to come from a Black man. In the same way that if you are in a white community, the chances are all the crimes are going to be from a white person, or vice, with Asians, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what we're not really looking at is that a lot of these influences come from these communities, and the trauma that we could actually feel, and the disrespect, and what is passed on, and sometimes through slavery, sometimes through colonization. I'm not here to bring up slavery, but all of these things play a factor. We do have a lot of disconnect because of the way the family homes are being destroyed, and morality is being changed, and forcing us to look at things in a different light, and trying to be like white people. Let's be real. Let's be real. When we talk about a lot of sexual deviancies, if we hear about a sexual deviancy, the first thing we think of is, oh, it got to be a white person. Oh, that's that white shit. Oh, that's white people. So that lets you know already where this is coming from. There was and I don't mean to be crude, but there was a porn star I was watching an interview once with a porn star, and he said, don't watch white porn, because if you watch white porn, you will be doing that messed up stuff. And this was from a black man saying, yeah, they do messed up stuff and it can influence you. So what I have to say is sometimes we have to look at the root cause. Yes, we need to distance ourselves from them, stop looking at them as being better and really see them for exactly what they are, and also understand that they play a large role in the influence of some of our actions.
Minimum age for marrying a little girl in Africa is 12.
Africa is a continent.
No, Africa. No, I'll give you some countries.
That's not Africa.
I'm saying in most countries in Africa, Ethiopia, Chad, Nigeria, 12. And depending on what the village elder says, you can probably get them at a age. I've been to 2 weddings. Luckily, the church stopped one, but other than that,
what's the age of consent in Ghana?
No, we're not talking about Ghana. I'm giving you just some ages.
Oh, you're not talking about Ghana, but
what about Ghana?
You brought up
in Ghana.
16.
I mean, the youngest age in Ghana is actually 16.
Yeah, 16.
Yeah, 16. Okay, that's still a teenager. That's still a teenager to us. But what
is the minimum age of different countries in Europe?
Minimum age in different countries in Europe. If it's not done by a Muslim if it's not done by Muslims or a mosque, then they would have to be of a legal age, which is around, I would say, 16 to 17, and that's Europe.
Not always, no.
Now, hold on. But I mean, have you been to any of these? I've been to at least a few weddings. We was partying our way through the world. I'm just saying that before Africa was
14, you can have sex in Germany at the age of 14. Austria, Hungary, Italy.
Okay, that's okay. You said Austria, Hungary, satellite countries. You're gonna name all satellite countries that are.
But you see what.
But I'm just saying.
You're doing the very thing that actually came in to actually address the same thing.
Okay, but let's just put it like this. A lots of Africans men are trying to stop. Okay, and that's the thing about it. The thing about it is a lot of
But wait, do you? So, I think he was about to say that we have a habit in our community of when we bring up something that the white man has done. Now, I'm all for, as you guys know, sorry, my girls are living their best life. I'm all for accountability in the Black community. I am for that. Okay. And I've even been the person, because I did this in a video, to say I absolutely am against police violence, but I want us also to look at the violence we exact on ourselves and why we're pointing all that hatred inward. I've done that, the thing that Angel is bringing up. But he brings up a good point, and my man says this all the time too, that we turn to each other and what's going on in our community whenever a conversation comes up regarding anyone else. And he's saying you're kind of doing that right now.
Yeah.
Right after he pointed out that we kind of have an issue with doing that.
Let me just say this, Angel. Let me just say this. One of the biggest issues I have, and this is something I always see, that I'm gonna tell y'all right now, I don't give a shit about what white people do. That's really not my problem, but I don't live in white society. I live in Black society. I am a Black born Gullah Negro man. I can give a fuck what goes on in a white man's house.
Could you tell me where do you reside, the state or the country?
South Carolina, America. I'm Geechee and Gullah. We actually own our properties.
But you live in white society.
You trust me, the Geechee to Gullah, it's not white society. Irene could tell you that. Trust me.
Who was the president?
Oh, that's Trump.
Right.
That's Trump. I mean, you want to say if you want to go on a broad spectrum, but
let's be real. If they wanted to shut you down tomorrow, they could do. You live in white society. This is a fact. Let's not play word semantics, my brother. I mean, let's be real. When Malcolm X turned around and said, "Who taught you to hate the color of your skin, the shape of your nose, the size of your lips?" Right? These are things that are taught. Now, I'm not here to argue with you. Like, I don't know you. Like, and I will have. You're being respectful to me. I can be respectful to you also. Right? That's not a problem. But what the sister was saying is true. When we turn around and we start saying it's easy to blame and not really look at the root cause. It's easy to look at these things. we are not really, if you don't focus on the root cause, it's like I said, when we start talking, when people say, when you said, oh, I don't care about white society, I only care about what goes on in the Black community. But here's the thing. Let's say you have a child and that child goes into school and that child fights with all the other kids and he picks on and bullies. All you care about is what that child does and what they're doing in the school. But what if there is a catalyst? What if the reason that child is doing that is because at home he's being abused, or he's copying? This is learned behavior, observed behavior, right? You obviously have to. You obviously have to look. I'm actually a high school teacher.
Okay.
Right. And so you actually have to look at the learned behavior and what's going on, and that's known as the root cause and effect. So sometimes when we look at actions within the Black community, we also have to look at who were they learning these things from.
So in other words, you're saying that, okay, let me go about handling this a different way. As Black men, I want to make sure I speak directly to the men. As Black men, one of the main things that has been called out and cried out amongst us as men is for the accountability of our men and women and children. Focusing on everybody else when we used to be able to focus on the first thing is home. That's the first thing that we focused on. We focused on accountability. I remember when I would go in the grocery store and I would see these other kids acting the fool, my mom would look at me and said, listen, I don't give a damn what those children over there are doing. You're my child. You belong to me. You keep your ass right by this cart. And when my mom would say that, I would keep my ass right by that damn cart because I understood that I belong to her. I'm under her watch. Whenever I would go to church, my daddy said, listen, I don't care what those boys are doing over there. You're my son. Sit your behind right there, and I'll come back when I finish with the deacons. You be right there. Now, if I had moved from there and said those boys did, he said, what did I tell you? You see, the thing about it is, as men, it's our duty to actually make sure we enforce and say, listen, we got an accountability. Now, when I speak to the Black men, I'm speaking predominantly to the Black men, because I understand the white man is going to do him. See, the white man, we're no longer in authority. We're no longer in that position, really. The white man plays around with us like a yo-yo. Throws us out, brings us right back in. But see, for us as Black men, we understand that it's now a call to order where we need to start holding our brothers accountable. We need to start holding our women. See, when we get the men right and start saying, men, listen, this is what's going on. Yeah, I get it. The white man, he's doing some sick shit right now. Right now, he's already cutting off his penis and doing all that good stuff. That's good. That's good and all on him. Yay for him. But right now, our families are intact. Now, in saying that, that means we need for our brothers to start saying, listen.
Could you clarify that a moment? Did you say our families are intact?
No, we need to keep our families intact. I didn't say no, our families aren't intact. My family's intact. My family's intact.
Can I just ask you?
Go ahead.
So I hear what you're saying, but don't you think it's essential? There are a lot of behaviors that we have in the Black community that are, for example, the tendency to hypersexuality, the tendency to classify our women as undesirable or as Jezebels, to sexualize our own women down to objects. Those are behaviors that go hand in hand with the several hundred years that, because mind you, we're just like 4 generations out of slavery right now.
Not even really, even less than that. Because if you look at the reality is so-called, and I use the term loosely, liberation is only around 50 years.
If we consider,
that's why I said so-called liberation.
If we consider Jim Crow, if we consider all of those things, right? So I could definitely see that. When we talk about these subjects, we have to recognize that behavior is not isolated, and it's not in a time bubble. That a lot of these learned behaviors are passed on, and many of these behaviors were fostered in the several hundred years that we spent in slavery. And as we started to rebuild following slavery, we were faced with other issues. I don't think the Black community has had a time to build itself and identify itself separate and safe from white influence.
What is safe?
What I mean by that is, for example, now that the schools are desegregated, right? Whites have an agenda that they push. Our Black children, and I'm a result of this, right? I'm a Black female that grew up in San Francisco, a heavily integrated place. I went to private school. It was very racially diverse, but it was on a very progressive white agenda. So a lot of my worldview as a child, San Francisco is a sexually liberated place. Do you know what I mean? San Francisco is a place where racial diversity is considered something that you don't look at, but financial hierarchies are stared at heavily. So it's very classist. So a lot of these things I picked up as a child, right? Now, fortunately, I had balance because every summer and every winter I would leave and I'd go with a very different sort of Black family. You know, I'd go and I see my Aunt Essie, who at the time when I was little was in her hundreds. And I spent time, you know, with my Gullah family and things like that. And their outlooks are very different. So I was fortunate, but imagine if I'd spent all my time in San Francisco.
Now pause.
I think a lot of Black people have habits that are residue from slavery. I think a lot of Black people are indoctrinated into a white mindset. We have history that's taught from their perspective. And so it helps for us to identify and understand. That's why I'm doing that cognitive liberation series. We must understand how they build and how they work and what their mentality is. So we can isolate their thinking, their thoughts, and their way of being from our thinking, our thoughts, and our way of being. And often we see those as one and of the same.
What is our way of thinking?
I'm sorry?
What is our way of thinking?
Could I interject quickly?
Sure.
Okay. So I actually agree with what the brother said about Black men having to take accountability and take control. I mean, it would be idiotic for me to say I don't agree with that. A lot of my videos are focused around that. Okay. Now, yesterday, Irene, I think you did a live stream about segregation. I watched about 15 minutes of it. I couldn't stay to watch all of it. The problem with when you want to say, okay, Black men, we're going to take complete and utter accountability and we're going to mold the direction of our community and we're going to change this up and change that up. That can't happen without cultural separation. All right. Without cultural differences being implemented, because the world that we live in, when we live in this integrationist society, which a lot of it is based on culture, you know, American culture, westernized culture, Europeanized culture, where we focus and we look to them for the things that we're doing. So when we say, like, for example, just to kind of go on actual topic from what you said you were talking about, in the schools right now, they're bringing in people that are part of the transgender community and gay community to speak to children from as young as 5 years old.
I told you that last night.
To make them more open about more open and more understanding about particular things. And there are parents, I think there was parents that are saying, listen, we don't want this, and we don't want you to, we want to be made aware when this is happening. We don't want our kids to be seeing this, because children are very they're very impressionable, right? And you tell a child who's 5 years old, oh, you can be anything you want, you can be a girl, you can be a boy, and they have like the puberty blockers that they add and all these things. But a lot of these things are coming from the white community. Like, for example, and I'm not going on a tangent, I'm actually saying, like, the Kevin Hart situation with the tweets about the gay community versus the tweets about dark-skinned Black women, etc. There was a bigger outrage and a more quote unquote successful outrage in regards to his tweets about homosexuality, because within the LGBTQ community, it's white centered, it's white focused, and there are a lot of white people in Hollywood who are very powerful, who are part of that community. A lot of the people who are in politics who are part of that community. And so therefore they have power. They have this white privilege, and sometimes they'll use black folks as a scapegoat, or black folks as an excuse. Oh yeah, we're gonna ride with you. We want this. We're gonna fight for this. But it's all for their own personal agenda. So when we want to turn around and say, nah, we don't want any of these things, it does mean total separation. And I think one of the questions you posed yesterday, from what I saw, was what does separation mean? Can we separate completely? Can we do this? Can we do that? And the answer to that, which is linked to this, is yes, we can. But a lot of us don't want to. A lot of us do not want to separate. A lot of us have a fear. We don't want to work hard enough. So when the brother says we have to take accountability, we have to stand up, he's 100% right. I don't have no time for a pedophile. I don't have no time for a rapist. I'm B1, right? I'm black people first, African people first, all day, every single day. And I will stand up for you regardless, apart from if you are a sexual predator, sexual offender, things like that. And if you are detrimental to our community. However, when we're holding ourselves accountable, we also have to be considerate of the issues surrounding and the reasons surrounding and the causes. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. And like I said, brother, under no circumstances, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. Let me use, there's an Islamic neighborhood just down the street from me, apart from the black community. They work in the black community, but when they leave, it goes right back to the Islamic neighborhood. They watch us, but they don't take part of us. And the thing about it is that they understand is this. You can go to the school with some of them, which they really don't, because they put their kids in a better school than us. And that's fine. Listen, I'm not joking with my cousin is saying, talking about when she talks about the pedophilia of white people. Yes, white people have rewritten history now. White people are changing up history now because they've already passed a bill for HR 1242. Y'all need to learn about that. Y'all really need to learn about that bill, because Black history is going to be changed in a few more months. Actually, next year, the books are going to get changed for Black history. So, but the thing about it is, history is his story, how he's going to tell the narrative. And the fact about it for a lot of Black people is that reason why when how some of the group was like, why are you talking about Black people? Why are you talking about Black people? Because I'm trying to make sure, listen, they had hundreds of years to get their shit together. I only have so much time on this earth to get me and my legacy together. So I know what he's doing. And I see he can afford to do that shit. I don't have the backing of a government and all that other shit like he do. All I have is the resources I have in the small collective. But if I know pedophilia, being a pedo is wrong. Mind you, like I told Irene and them, like they're saying, like, show me in the Bible, show me in the Quran. Trust me, this is nothing new. Like I said, this is nothing new. I'm not saying we're condoning it as Black people, but we need to stop turning a blind eye to when we do it, because it's more harmful when you know it's bad, but you're not calling it out. I get it, because yes, that is a deflection when you say, well, white people are shooting Black people. Well, y'all kill each other. Yes, that's a deflection. And I'm not doing a deflection. I'm just saying that we need to watch and be accountable of the shit that we got going on, because we can't afford to make the same mistakes they got. Our boys and our men are dying. Our women are being raped and pillaged.
I don't think anybody would debate that, though.
Nobody. But here's the thing about it. You say nobody will debate that, but here's the thing about it. When you call it out, let's just say, Angel, you were to tell these brothers in the school, like, listen, y'all brothers, y'all need to stop taking part in that destructive culture. But we got to admit right now, the Black culture right now is self-dissipating and destroying a lot of our youth's mind. Nobody's killing the Black man better than the Black man right now. I'm sorry. We're doing this shit too at a perfection. And it's getting scary, because I'm already going to a high school funeral next week. 2 Black boys shot. Why? Over a goddamn pair of shoes in a basketball game. 2 Black boys, only 16 and 15, by another boy. And it's getting sad now, because I'm getting tired of burying the young. I'm the old, they should bury me, not the other way around. But honestly, I could say, well, white people shoot at their school, so it was going to trickle down. But I need to look at the what's going on, that, yo, we got this stuff. Like, it amazes me that they allow us, mind you, you don't see white people putting out that much destructive music the way black people are for our own young. Now they got it where they're white people saying, yo, drink, do coke, do lean, do all this shit that causes seizures.
You're missing out. You're missing out the common denominating factor. Like, if you bring up music, look at what the record labels actually put out there. The record labels don't put out conscious rap. They don't put out conscious hip hop. They only put out music that is geared towards promoting negativity. And then who is the one that actually puts out the music? When we talk about, oh, the black community, remember I talked about proximity crime. Nobody calls it white on white crime. They just call it crime, even though white people kill more people. And even when some people say, oh, but look at the stats, disproportionate. No, those are arrests. The figures they show you are arrest figures. Arrest figures are not charges, right? Then you look at the figures for being charged. Then you look at the figures for being convicted. And when you really break down the figures, it's like, wait, hold on. If more white people are arrested for doing such and such, but yet less of them are being charged in comparison to black people, that's disproportionate. And then more black people are convicted, even though more white people are committing these crimes. These become problematic stats when you're looking at it and you see that this is all disproportionate and it's geared towards that. When you start looking at who puts drugs within the communities, who pushes all these things in our communities, see, I'm from Brooklyn, right? So please believe me, I understand what it's like to live in particular neighborhoods where you're from the haves and the have-nots, right?
Yeah. I was from Springfield. I was up in Massachusetts, born right at Page Street.
But the thing that we really need to focus on is sometimes these things are not necessarily coincidences. They're all part and parcel of the plan. This is all planned. It's supposed to go like that. You're supposed to be doing the things that we're doing. They want us to do that. When we say, oh, do you know what? It's easy. Like, you know, I can't have my community do this. I agree with you. We can't have our community do these things. But we also have to understand that everybody that speaks up against these things, that go to focus on teaching and rebuilding, is going to be always faced with opposition. You'll be deemed as a racist. You'll be deemed as a quote unquote black identity extremist and whatnot. So, but you also have to teach the brothers and sisters, and especially the younger brothers and sisters, this is coming from white society and white culture. This is why you're acting the way you're acting. This is why you're doing the things that you're doing.
I'm gonna say this, but I gotta go real soon. I got a topic coming up. Why don't successful black men and women work together? There's gonna be a debate coming on tonight. Irene, just let me know if you still want on that.
Yeah, I'll come over.
Okay. The only thing I want to say is this, and I'm gonna say this just like my daddy told me when he caught me carrying dope on me. And I said, well, Daddy, it was just a taste. I just wanted to try it, and other boys are making money, so I want to make it too. And he said, little nigga, just because the dope man offers it to you and gives you a taste, don't mean you got to take the shit. Because your ass is going to go to jail, not him. You take the hit, they have to try to catch him. And the thing about it is, black men, we have power. We don't have the power that a lot of other people have, but don't forget, you have power and you have strength. I made a choice. After losing one of my kids to the street, I said, fuck this bullshit. I'm not going to keep on contributing. I'm backing out. I'm not going to play the game. I could have gone to that court and smoked him. But I said, I'm not going to keep on the cycle of violence. I'm stepping out. I paid my due and I backed out. We're not going to pretend like now there's rap songs now that are telling boys to get man butt or get man pussy. Irene, you saw that.
Oh, please, let's not talk about that. That was so disturbing.
But we're not going to play like this is not popping and going on. Understand? They learn now, if I want to get an election win, go to a church. If I want to push off an agenda, put it in the music so the young can hear it. If I want to push off something that's hit and trending, get a black person to condone it. If they need you to push a movement or agenda, that means you have hidden power you don't know about. And until we got to understand that, listen, your oppressors are using you. I want to say that before I get off. Black men and women, your oppressors are using you. They do not mind seeing us say black women ain't shit. And they don't mind seeing black women saying, listen, you black men ain't shit. Y'all ain't doing nothing. When they see that, they say, yep, got those niggas in the field fighting. So we know they ain't going to try to work together. We know they ain't going to try to get out. We know they ain't going to try to build. I refuse. Listen. I'm not joking on any. I don't have no animosity against Cynthia G. I don't have no animosity against doggone Gab. I always try to work with Gab. We talk in our chats. I work with Irene, and Irene knows we have different opposing views. I told her about a man who adopted 2 boys. I'm keeping my eyes on them, and I know Irene said report his ass. She told me to do that. I know she told me to do that. That's
well, he shouldn't have children, but you know how I feel about that.
I know, Irene, but he hasn't done anything, and those boys do have a home.
But he's a sympathizer to the
pedophilia agenda. I know that, Irene. I do know that. But until he makes a move, which we do have eyes on him, we do have.
Sorry, I don't know your name, brother.
It's BMT, Joe from BMT.
Joe, okay. You said that when you were younger, you had drugs on you and you were selling drugs, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And you said somebody gave it to you, right? Do you come from what they refer to as an underprivileged neighborhood? Is that where you grew up? Like you grew up in poverty?
And yeah, when I was in Page Street, yes. In Page Street, it wasn't an underprivileged neighborhood, but I'm not gonna lie, a lot of the black boys wanted to be so cool. They started doing the fuckery of the other kids down the street. Okay. And a lot of the parents were like, y'all don't have to do this shit. What the hell y'all talking about? We live in middle class. Why are y'all doing dumb shit?
Okay. When you see, I'm from Marcy houses, right? So I'm from the projects.
I know that.
And when we see, there's a difference where, I'm assuming I'm a little older than you. I look young, but I'm 33, right? So I don't know. You could be the same age as me. Here's the thing. When you look at the beginning of things and you say, okay, so we have no money in our neighborhoods. They're not allowing us to have jobs. They're not giving us jobs. They're making it more difficult. We get stereotyped. We have racial profiling even when it comes to resumes. So it becomes difficult for people to have jobs. I've known brothers in my neighborhood that have said, listen, I can't get a job and I have kids to feed. I have family to feed. I've got this, that. So I'm forced to do something because what they're allowing me to do as a job simply isn't enough. So you have those group of people that will say, all right, so I'm just going to do what I have to do. My hand has been forced. I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter. Sometimes, however, it ends up being a case where greed gets ahead of you and you start to go, it's no longer about just simply trying to feed people and survive, the haves and the have-nots. You start to become greedy. Then you have other children that witness this and they say, I've got nothing. I'm struggling. I want to help my family, so they'll do that. Then in the case of like how it seems your neighborhood was, there were children that didn't necessarily need it, but they wanted to be flamboyant. They wanted to stand out and wanted to be popping or whatever. So they said, ooh, maybe I can do that as well, right? So there were different reasons for why people do things, but everything comes down to influences. And you see how it's like a domino effect? You can have the people that have been influenced that from the projects, that from the ghettos, they have nothing. They don't have opportunities in life. So they have to do what they have to do because it's either that or starve. Then you have the kids that are influenced by them that see that and say, ooh, they see the money, but they don't see the reason why they do the hustle and say, yo, I want the money. I want the women. I want the fly cars and whatnot. Because it's not, because how often...
Who are they seeing show that?
No, but we're talking about in our community.
Right, no, I'm just saying, but who are they seeing show that?
We're seeing it in our community. This is us. This is the men in our community. But remember, if you go down bit by bit, as you break it down, you stick to the reason. For example, in Brooklyn, a lot of the projects in Brooklyn, see, what's a project? When you focus on what a project is something that it's a test, it's an experiment, right? That's what a project is. It's something that is being built, being made. A lot of what happened in Brooklyn, these projects that popped up were to house criminals that were being released from the prison systems. So when you have a lot of the projects, that's what they were there for. To house the criminals.
They were more so a lot of the poor Irish who were treated worse than blacks were put in there. The blacks actually were having better jobs, but
treated worse than blacks.
Yeah, trust me. We actually have a person.
Okay, until somebody enslaves them for hundreds of years and bashes their babies' heads in and uses their women.
No, I can assure you. I can assure you.
I don't get why nobody wants to read a book about this country.
I'm not gonna say.
In this country, yes, we had it bad.
No.
We had the worst.
The Irish did not have their babies' heads bashed in. The Irish did not have their women have medical procedures performed on their reproductive organs without anesthesia.
Indentured servitude is not slavery. Okay. And
you want to know who's doing indentured servitude right now?
It doesn't matter who's doing indentured servitude, because this is when we start to deflect. If we stick to it, right, and we understand that when you take groups of people who have been released from prison systems, and these could be murderers, could be rapists, thieves, any form, right? And you say, we're going to put them in these housing projects, and they're in these housing projects, and this is where we release them to, and this is where we put them, and we put them all here. That means they are going to be an influence on their community. Are they not? They will be. So if you imagine if you can imagine what it's like being on a prison yard or being in a penal system, and how it's, a lot of fighting and stabbing and killing and whatnot, and then you release these people and put them into your community, the same thing is going to happen. The exact same thing is going to happen. So you have to ask yourself, who did that? Who put that in place?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna say this before I go. One of the things why they made the slave codes, and one of the reasons why they made the slave codes, but they knew black people had trades, that they were master trades and skillsmen. They didn't want to give them the job, but they didn't want to hire the Irish. They didn't want them to have the leg up. So they gave the blacks a job, but they didn't pay them. And actually they took most of their children, separated them, and put them in indentured servitude by the system.
That's not what happened.
Actually, we read about that.
White cargo was what? No. White cargo was a fallacy.
Okay. You're gonna say white cargo was a fallacy?
Yeah, that's not what happened.
Are you serious? There's actually a house. There's actually a house where
I can educate you on this.
How are you gonna educate me on something that there's actually a house that is still standing right there in Beaufort, South Carolina, where they kept boys and little girls in it and they slept in there throughout the year?
I have.
Okay, so you're gonna go to a book. I'm actually gonna go exactly to the spot.
I have videos on the so-called Irish indentured servitude. These people were criminals that were placed that had a sentence, right? They had a sentence within Great Britain, and then they were sent over to the Caribbean, where when they went to the Caribbean, they were distinctly different from the slaves. A lot of them became overseers. This was a sentence. When you have a sentence, at the end of a sentence is a period. That means there's a stop. That means you have a freedom date. Does it not? So African peoples, it was nowhere classed the same at all. Nowhere near the same. So please believe me, that's not what happened. What you said happened is not what happened. I'll gladly, my brother, I will give you some books to actually see the white cargo is a fallacy. It's a myth, and it has been debunked many times.
Okay.
And do you know who gave them? Do you know who gave them? Who ended their servitude as well? The same king that put them into their servitude.
Right, because they're cousins. They were cousins.
Trust me, they're not. Trust me, they're
cousins.
One
of them just won. One of them just won the clan war. That's much. I mean, don't worry about it. How I know that. But for the most part, like I said, it's all good. Like I said, it was a good show. Good job. Nice meeting y'all, people. I gotta go do my show.
Go over and do your show. You can send me the link.
Yeah, I'll send you the link, Ivan. Like I said, it was nice talking to you guys. Nice talking to Angel. You say you're from Marcy Projects?
Yeah, I'm from Marcy. I'm from Flushing Ave.
Okay. Right, only down the street from my cousins. All right. Well, nice to meet you, Mr. Angel. All right, Irene, good to talk to you guys. If y'all want to come to BMT, I support most brothers to come on over there. If you want to come over there and have a talk with me or debate, I'm more than open to that. Actually, I remember I asked Taz to come over. Taz even came over and subscribed. We had a few talks. Taz never came on the panel. It's all good, nothing but love. We have our talks, our debates. Irene knows I set them up very much so. Again, for Black men, you know, we got Black Men's Congregation for Brothers, where we teach you how to run businesses, how to actually build wealth, teach you knowledge. If you got any questions, you can ask different black male YouTubers run by me and Man of Tomorrow, where we speak for Black men. It's a Facebook page for Black men only. Nothing against the ladies, but it's for Black men only, to actually prepare and teach Black men how to be prosperous and respectable Black men in society and how to maneuver through the system. So I thank you guys for allowing me to be here. Irene, I do apologize about the Cynthia G issue. Like I said.
Okay.
All right. So I'll see you guys. Y'all have a good show, man.
Yeah, I'll see you a little bit later.
All right.
I'm going to come over there. Before I go, Angel, can I just ask you to weigh in on the NAACP asking us to boycott Facebook because Facebook sabotaged Hillary Clinton's campaign with Black people?
Because Facebook sabotaged Hillary Clinton's campaign with Black people.
Yes, by
See, I'm not aware of the story, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. So apparently, the NAACP and a few other people are accusing Facebook of not either catching or simply allowing Russia to propagandize during the campaign, use propaganda to sway the Black vote away from Hillary Clinton. And so the NAACP is basically saying that they want to bring attention to this, and that they're asking Black people to boycott Facebook for a week to show that, you know, we want them to change their policies, because that was basically an outrageous thing that occurred during the campaign. But if you don't want to speak on it because you don't know much about it, I totally understand.
Yeah, I don't really know much about it, but what I can say is, see, Facebook has a history of silencing Black voices, especially when you have like pro-Black pages or anything to do race-specific things where you are actually the victim and you're speaking out. Mark Zuckerberg came out to say that this was something that wouldn't happen. He said that he disagrees with this and it shouldn't happen. However, it continued to happen and it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And there are many people that within the Black community that actually talk about, you know, Black issues on Facebook that have had their pages removed, or whilst, you know, you have white supremacists and white nationalist pages that don't have the same issues, or even sometimes they're not even classed as, you know, nationalist or white supremacists, just necessarily like, you know, the alt-right or anything like that. And they don't have their pages removed. So as far as I'm concerned, I mean, I use Facebook for the sake of just posting links, and, you know, I do a multitude of different types of, you know, I do a bunch of different type of content like across my social media. The one thing that I don't do on Facebook anymore is I don't post about Black issues on Facebook or social political issues on Facebook, because I know they'll silence me. So I talk about dating and relationships on Facebook because that seems to be the only thing they allow me to talk about. When I speak on issues that we want to talk about in our community, that we need to talk about, I have to do it on my private Instagram group, where I don't allow non-Black people in the group, because that's the only way I can basically safeguard that the posts don't get removed and we don't have our voices silenced. So that's one thing that I can say in regards to that. With the Hillary Clinton thing, I find it really funny because when Donald Trump got into power, I said to people, you know what? Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are almost one and the same person. The only difference between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton is with Donald Trump, you knew what you were getting. Everyone predicted how it was going to go. Everyone knew it was going to end up like this, right? But we knew it. With Hillary Clinton, it was going to go the same way, but it was trying to perpetrate as if it wasn't supposed to go that way. Hillary Clinton was merely using black people to try to get the black vote so that she could beat Donald Trump. It wasn't about us. It wasn't about helping black people. It wasn't going to be for our benefit. None of those people were going to be for our benefit. So it wouldn't have mattered who we voted for. I can tell you right now, in my own honest opinion, that if Hillary Clinton was in power right now, we would be complaining exactly the same way that we're complaining about Trump. Maybe even more so. That's the funniest thing, because you don't know what Hillary Clinton has under her sleeve. But from the information that, I've looked at previously, is she's a demonic woman. There's nothing good in her, and the things that she stands for is not something that black people need to get behind. With the NAACP, I didn't know the NAACP were really for us. I mean, I thought that was something that was put out into the open, that they're not really for us.
Just two more questions, if you don't mind. My next question for you is, Kamala Harris and Cory Booker kind of spearheaded the finally passing an anti-lynching law. The NAACP is also counting that as a victory. What are your thoughts about finally having an anti-lynching law? Do you think that's purely symbolic? Do you think that time could have been used better, better and focusing on some modern day issues of our people? Or do you have no thoughts on it at all?
An anti-lynching law.
Yeah,
is that not like the law that's already out there called like murder? It's illegal to murder.
Yeah, yeah. Basically.
So you have your answer. I mean, yeah, they. Are we saying that when you lynch somebody to death, that's completely different to when you murder somebody? If you shoot them, stab them, hang them, it's the same thing. Of course, you're not getting a win. That's like me saying, oh, you know what? We've got a law now against such and such, and then people are like, but we already have a law like that. It's just under a different name. When you're being specific, it's like, are they going to give people that hang people more time, more than a life sentence? I don't understand the relevance of that or how that benefits us.
Yeah, I don't either. I think it's purely symbolic. I know Cory Booker wants to run for the presidency and Kamala Harris is an opportunist. So I thought maybe they were planning to run on the same ticket together. But that was, and
it's probably more a case of saying, oh, look, we did something without actually having to actually do something.
So my last question for you, and then I'll let you go. And thank you so much for lending your voice to this discussion. My last question is, in light of the NAACP wanting a boycott on Facebook because they feel it swayed the vote from Hillary Clinton, which obviously they were backing, they, at the same time, and I posted this link in the description box for you guys that want to watch the interview with the CEO from the NAACP from today. He was counting it a victory that Bill Clinton's a lot of Bill Clinton's sentencing that fell under his law, that 3 strikes law, was being overturned because they have passed a law to lessen those sentences, those mandatory sentences, as well as sentences for gun possession, weapon possession, and a couple of other things I have in the description box. So I personally found it hilarious that on one hand, they wanted to boycott Facebook on behalf of Hillary Clinton and what happened because of the sabotaging of her campaign, and in the same breath counted a victory to effectually overturn the results of a law that her husband passed that was biased against Black people. Do you think that's a sign of hypocrisy in the NAACP?
Of course it is. I mean, firstly, didn't Bill Clinton come out as actually saying that he made a mistake in regards to passing that law? I mean, I think I remember, is it the documentary on Netflix? I can't remember, it's 13th or 13. When he's had the interview, or and he's letting you know that these laws that he put out, they weren't right. and it was always going to be at the detriment of Black people. So that isn't really it's not really a win. I need to actually look at in more detail. See, I don't like speaking on something that I don't have the full information on or to truly understand it, because I don't really follow Hillary Clinton or, you know, what they do completely, and Bill Clinton and whatnot. But I hear people say all the time that, you know, Hillary Clinton is going to be no different to Bill Clinton, you know, and they stand for the same things and whatnot. So I can't really speak on it that well, but I really have to look at it. But like I said, from my memory, I remember Bill Clinton actually apologizing for that, you know. But I just know that when it was a case of Bernie Sanders, Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump, I remember it like it was yesterday. I thought, wow, it's like shitter. It's like shitter, and shittest. Which one do you want to pick? You know, it's not like we had great options.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think it really mattered anyway, because we don't live in a country where it's one person, one vote. So as long as the Electoral College can usurp the popular vote,
right,
you know, I think it ends up being a moot conversation. But I did think it was interesting that the NAACP came out with their CEO having just a completely hypocritical interview where he was kind of just all over the place. It really just, to me, exposed them as an arm of the government and not an arm for the people. But with that said, you guys, Angel, I really appreciate you coming over and taking the time. And I really like the build you did with BlackMaleTalk. He's very controversial, and it's always really hard when I have him over here, but I feel like he brings a lot of interesting points to the table, and I really enjoy
Could I just say, like, so when he mentioned the indentured servitude and the Irish slaves, I actually have an entire video about that. I actually have an entire video that goes through the dates, the times, the years, the king that actually sentenced them, and what it was exactly that they were doing. So it's completely different. So if people wanted to have a look at that, I can gladly put the link in the description.
Yeah.
So not the description, sorry, in the comment in the chat box.
Yeah, if you don't mind, please do. I was actually going to ask you to do that, but I didn't know if there's going to be too much trouble.
No, not at all. I just need to find it, but it's just because sometimes I don't have the. I think the video was called "White People Were Slaves Too," but I'll just pull it up now, because this is a rhetoric that a lot of white people use, and then so the link is right there. So it's called, you know, "White People Were Slaves Too," and if they're not using, you know, Irish indentured servitude, they start talking about the Barbary slave trade or Slavic people, et cetera, and it's all just deflection. But the more you know, the better. And the white cargo has been debunked. Like it's a myth, and it's not substantiated at all.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll actually check that out too.
All right, no worries. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for coming on. And you guys, thank you for joining me. And I got all my clothes folded, y'all, while we were doing this. So now I'm about to go bake some bread and cook some dinner and get on BMT's live tonight. So for those of you that are fans of him, feel free to go over there too. Check out Angel's channel. I believe the mods have put the his channel link in the box. And also feel free to check out that documentary, because I think it is really important that we be well versed, because a lot of times we get talked down, and when we're not well versed in a subject, we can be made to feel ignorant and be put on the defensive. And so it's good to be prepared for this rhetoric, especially when we have Black people that spew this same rhetoric at us. So I think it's just really important to be able to intelligently rebut a lot of these arguments. So I personally am not well versed on Irish slavery, so I will be watching that video. I hope you guys do too. And as I said, feel free to go over to BMT's channel right now, because he is currently live. And y'all, I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Remember that I have coming up a live dealing with white women having the lowest self-esteem, but educating Black children, and what the risks are of that, and why we have, if women have lower self-esteem than men overall, and white women have the lowest self-esteem of all women, why do we have women with the absolute lowest self-esteem of all people, right? Why do we have them teaching all of our children, and what are the effects of that? What are the mental effects of having such low self-esteem? And what are the detriments to the Black children that they're teaching? So be looking out for that live. Also for my bibliophiles, tomorrow I will be going through my man's bookshelf, which is all Black books all the time about Black people by Black authors. So if you need a new book about our people, tomorrow is your jackpot day, because his bookshelf is overflowing with Black books. I'm not even sure we'll be able to get through them all, because he doesn't collect big fat hardback books like me. He collects paperbacks. So it's a lot of books that can fit on that shelf. And so do join me, because, that's our chance to chit chat and talk, share our love for various reading materials. And it's just a chill down day, because I feel like we've been doing a lot of intense stuff this week, y'all. All these conversations have been very intense this week. And sometimes it's just nice to have a laid back conversation. So tomorrow will be the day for that. And with that said, I have bread to bake and clothes that I folded that I need to put away, and things like that to do. But I will catch all y'all later. Thank you so much. Bye.